I was suicidal at times. Like, I was in a really bad spot because I couldn't figure it out. And that was one of the things that I told him early on. I was like, do not blow smoke up my ass. I'll never forget it. I'm like, man, am I going to get booed? So I'm like, all right, $250,000, or I'm walking out that door.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He's got it. 1-0.
And the manager in Baltimore was Buck.
Yep.
He's coming on.
Is he really?
Yeah.
You're going to love Buck. I don't know if you know him.
So I got a chance to be on Foul Territory with Buck about a month and a half ago. It was my first time. The first question I ever asked him was, you always walked on the field with your fungo. I played against you 100 times, never said hi one time. And he talked about this old school mindset and stuff. And then when we started this, I got his number and I called him. I was like, I left a message. I said, hey, Buck, it's Kevin Pillar. I think you would appreciate a phone call more than a text, but this is what we're trying to do. Would love to have you on. He called me. We talked for an hour. I'm like, look, save the stories for the show. But
you would have appreciated him as a player. Are we rolling right now?
Okay,
keep going. It's perfect.
Because of the type of player you are and the type of person that you are, you would have really enjoyed him. I did not understand it as a younger player being in the Rangers organization. I knew him a little bit because he loves to be a part of everything, which I appreciate as a manager, somebody who's going to run a good team. So he would be around the minor leagues a little bit, but I knew he was involved pretty heavily with the draft process because he was at a pre-draft workout that I was at.
So he was with the Rangers when you got drafted by the Rangers.
Yeah.
He was just like a special advisor or like field coordinator or something?
No, he was the manager with the Rangers.
He was the manager with the Rangers.
Washington replaced Buck.
Oh, so you never played for Buck in Texas.
No.
He was the manager, but he was involved in the so part of the things he told me when we talked, and we're going to talk about when he comes on, is he liked being involved in the draft process. He liked seeing guys like backgrounds and where they came from and like the other things they did, and he wanted them to be athletes ultimately.
I think he would make a really, really good general manager. I really do. Just because of his mind. He's got such a good baseball mind, but he pays so much attention to detail, and he remembers things that you wouldn't think that people will remember.
Yeah.
And I think he's also a very good evaluator of talent. I saw him at when Jonesy was inducted in the Orioles Hall of Fame not that long ago. And I mean, we sat there and talked for 2.5 hours about things that we would change about the game, things that we like, where the direction of the game is headed.
I want to kind of maybe let's start there and then you can follow up. But was that weird for you to go back? I know your end of your career obviously isn't the way you wanted to go, and I don't think anyone anticipated, but I have to assume that's the first time you've been back in Baltimore since.
So they retired Jonesy as they did a 1-day contract so he could retire as an Oriole.
That's right, because he was in Japan, right?
Well, he went to Arizona before that because they didn't renew they didn't extend him or give him an opportunity to come back after his contract was up, which I thought was not right. But they were already kind of headed in a different direction. So they gave him a 1-day contract. He came back and he signed the contract and he retired. Audie and the kids were there, and Axel and August ran on the field with him. It was a really nice deal, but that was the first time I had gone back since it had ended.
So that was just his 1-day contract, and they did it like he threw out the first pitch and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they hosted. I mean, there were like 15 or 16 ex-players on the field, but I'm like, not only am I going back for the first time since I retired, and when I retired, I was hurt, and it was still like towards the end of COVID, so like they basically put up a video board message at a game, and like that was it. So like I didn't get to see the guys, I didn't get to be around anybody. That was the first time I'd been back in Baltimore, and I was so nervous because I'm like, man, I was really good at this for this period of time, and I was really bad at the end of my career.
But I got to hold on real quick.
Yeah.
For everyone watching, listening, he was better than just okay. He was dominant.
Yeah.
For that period of time, I got a chance to compete against him. We were in the same division. It was better than okay.
I appreciate that.
I just want to say, so not only and I think fans maybe do, maybe don't, but I know for me personally, like you not only look at like some of these places, right? Like you spent, all these years in Baltimore, and you guys had some great teams, you had some great seasons and all this stuff, but it was such a huge part of like your life.
Oh yeah.
Not just like, don't look at it from like a career perspective, right? Like I have the privilege of going back to Cleveland, and and I get to talk to some of these guys that work in the front office. They're like, hey, would you mind coming back to do this? I'm like, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like I love going back to that place, not so that I can like relive the glory days kind of thing, but it's more of like, dude, like some of the memories that I have just driving around the town and
Yes.
going to restaurants and like showing my kids like, hey, that's the house that you lived in when you were 3.
Yeah.
Like take the field out of it. Like that's such a massive part of your life. But so much of our I guess identity and our lives at that point it was so tethered to the field
Yeah.
that and I think for 99.9% of guys, like the end of your career
Is how you get remembered.
isn't the way that
Yeah.
you want it to go, right?
Yeah.
Like and if like everybody asked me like, why'd you retire? I'm like, well, my phone stopped ringing, right?
Yeah.
Like because I kept getting released and nobody wanted to give me a contract. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just the reality for most guys. I mean, dude, I can't imagine the roller coaster of emotions, not only being at the field, but like being at the airport, like
Yeah.
driving from the airport to the field,
Yeah.
going to a restaurant with friends and catching up with. I'm sure some of the guys that were there were guys that you spent a ton of time with.
Yeah. And I guess I kind of misjudged just what it was going to feel like, but also I didn't think about being recognized,
Mhm.
and I'm like, it's been 4 years, 3 years, however long it was since I played here. The team's completely different. I know
Mhm.
like maybe 2 or 3 of the guys. Management's still the same, but we were still kind of new with each other too, because I only had a little bit of time with them. The crazy thing was we stayed in the hotel that I stayed in while I was rehabbing. So I had hip surgery in 2021 and was rehabbing, and had originally agreed to rehab here because the doctor that did my surgery was out of Frisco. He's one of the Cowboys guys. And I wanted to be close enough to where I'd be under his care. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. We're still dealing with the COVID stuff. So access to the clubhouse is going to be limited. You're going to have to be tested. Well, about 2 weeks after my surgery, the general manager calls me and says, hey, the owner wants you in town. And I'm like, crap, dude.
I remember reading that, and I'm like, man, that is so
Yeah, and then
bush
It was.
league. Like
It
that
was.
was just so bush.
And my whole family's here. Ella's in school. The twins are real little. So like, this is my home base. I've already worked it out. I was going to Meister's place rehabbing. There are
Yeah.
other big league guys. It was the perfect environment for me to rehab in, because I was in a good place with support.
Yeah.
And I had other big league guys that I could be around that were going through something similar.
And it's not like, and I'm sure Meister's guys down here, and when we say Meister, like it's a local orthopedic surgeon who has a unbelievable clinic here that I think we've all 3 been to.
I've been
Yeah.
most
Oh, yeah.
recently
And
6 weeks
so,
ago.
and so the guy who's running their clinic and all their PTs and everything there, they are all like, I'm sure they had a great relationship with the staff in
With the
Baltimore. And I'm
A
sure
lot
the
of the-
staff there checked it off.
The funny thing is, so Keith Meister was the head orthopedic surgeon. He may still be for the Texas Rangers
He is.
for forever. Well, 2 of the trainers on the Rangers staff, on the big league staff, were younger trainers earlier in their career with 2 of the trainers on the Orioles staff. So they were like really good friends. So these guys not only know each other, they trust one another.
Yeah.
And so it was a great setup. But he said, what are we doing here? We're paying this guy this much money, and he's not even in town, and we're just going to hope that he shows up and after 16, 18 months and that he's ready to play. And so they made me come in. So I was flying in on Sunday evening to Baltimore, staying in a hotel, rehabbing Monday through Friday, flying back home on Friday afternoon, staying Saturday, and then flying back out on Sunday.
I'm sure that was good for your
and
hip.
they were
Dude,
like,
it was horrible for my hip. It was horrible for my head.
but
for
they
my
were
heart.
totally fine with that. They
They
were
were
like,
fine with it.
we'll
And
live
I'm
with
like-
that, but we won't live with you being at home.
So the hotel that I stayed in when I went back for Jonesy's thing was the same hotel. And guess what? They gave me the same room because I'd stayed in it for basically, I think I did it for 2.5 months. So I'm like, I remember telling Jill, she's like, are you good? And I'm like, this is just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? I'm here to support my teammate and my friend. But the cool part about it was, and my wife and I and our kids too, to some degree, were heavily involved in the city when I was there. That was a big thing for me. It was big for Jill to be involved in the community and give back to the community. So we still have a lot of relationships and a lot of contacts there outside of baseball. But going back to downtown Baltimore, staying in the same spots, to your point, seeing the same things, going to the stadium, I was extremely nervous to see how I was going to be received. I did not know I was going to be on the field pregame for Jonesy around from center field. And so I'm like, man, I'm not going to be just hiding in a suite, you know? And so, and I was the second to last one. I think Markakis was the last guy to get introduced. And I'll never forget it. I'm like, man, am I going to get booed? Like the team was playing really well, which I think was good, but I'm like, I was really bad, you know, the last few years that I was here. Am I going to get booed off this field? And they're showing everybody's face on the Jumbotron as they're going down. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And so they announced my name and the place goes nuts. And
that's
awesome. I was like, I actually did this, and they caught it on camera. I was like, but it was cool. And like, I went back to the dugout after Jonesy ran out and did his thing, and there were a couple fans there, a couple of season ticket holders that I recognized. And one of the guys was like, hey, Crush, man, we're so glad that you came back. And he's like, I saw your reaction on the Jumbotron. He's like, don't forget, we'll never forget all the great things that you did for us. And I was like, I appreciate that. Man, I appreciate that guy saying that.
Was that the closure you felt like you needed?
I think it was. I really do think it was. And we've talked about this, me and guys that I played with or against post-career. You don't realize how much emotional stress that you carry while you're playing. And once it's over with and you kind of like take a deep breath, you realize how freaking pent up and wound up you were the whole time. And it's like, man, for me, like just sitting in here and listening to y'all talk to Austin, I'm like, trying to think back, I'm like, okay, I do remember when I really enjoyed it, but man, the older I got and the harder it got and the more challenging it got physically, I don't remember there being a lot of joy.
I think the difficult thing, and it's probably all sports, but baseball specifically is, and at least I was wired this way. When I was successful, I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. But when I failed, it was hard for me to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think that's the beauty of retirement and, you know, getting a chance to reflect back on, and obviously getting a chance to go back to a place like Baltimore. I've been able to go back, you know, to Toronto as recent as this year doing the, you know, TV stuff. And I was nervous too.
Yeah.
You know, my ending was a little bit different than yours. I got traded, but you always think about, are they going to remember me for like the good things I did? Because you get so caught up in all the bad stuff that you did in your career, because it just felt like when I'm successful, that's what I'm supposed to do. When I'm bad, the weight of the world's on me. So I'm happy you got that moment.
Well, to your point, you don't play at the highest level for as long as we all did. If there's not some sort of like OCD paranoia, like you said it earlier, like, am I doing everything that I should be doing? Did I do enough today? I had a great day today, but for me, that was just the standard. Like, hey man, I went 3 for 4 today. I drove in 5 runs. We won the game. I did my job today.
But you always you think about the 4th at bat.
Exactly.
What
did I do wrong? Why wasn't I? You know, and I think we have to give ourselves grace in that space to understand that, like, it's okay to be proud of your accomplishments and to say, man, I was one of the best in the world for a period of time, and I'm proud of that, because there's not a lot of guys that get to experience that.
Well, I mean, it's the old like saying of like, you're climbing a mountain, right? And on the backside of every mountain, like, there's an ascent and a descent, right? But you know, we're just not sure, like for us, like in our careers, like there's no visible mountain that we're looking at, right? And you're trying to make, like, you don't want the descent to start, but for all of us, it comes, right? It comes at some point, right? And how we handle that is individual to the person, but you know, it's like this constant of like, next step. Like, you know, like the whole reason we started this, you know, podcast is like, we've been talking about like, man, everybody's journey to the top, to their like subjective top, is so different. You know, and we talk about today, like we all have kids here, and we're, you know, in the youth sports space, and I you know, like whatever your experiences with it. But I know for me personally, like there's a lot of conversations that are taking place out there in the athletic space. Is like, you need to do this. Or you have to experience this. Or if you're not on this team, or if you don't have this in place by this, you're going to get left behind or whatever. It's like, dude, that is the biggest lie.
Oh yeah.
Because the absolute best players that I have ever played with are the guys that you could consider like the overcomers, or the guys that had loads of failure.
Yeah.
And I know you, like, from, you grew up East Texas, Longview,
Mhm.
Beat DeSoto last year, big win, right?
Yeah, huge
win.
huge.
And but you go to UT out of high school, bam, that happened, that's over quickly.
Yeah.
We'll get into those details, but like, then you go to junior college, right? So it's not this like ascent the whole way, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going up, down, up, and then like sometimes it's way down, sometimes it's way up. And you're in Texas, right? You get called up by your hometown team, Texas Rangers. Like, bro, you're probably thinking like, this is it, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's gonna be a movie about me, right? Like, and then you struggle, bam, you get traded to this town in the Mid-Atlantic called Baltimore.
Yeah.
That you've probably never been to,
Outside
of playing
being
there.
a visiting player, yeah.
And that's where you end up like making your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I mean, just like, all right, so let's walk that back a little bit. Let's go from Longview.
Yeah.
Were you always a baseball player? Like, did you always play baseball, or were you a multi-sport, like do everything?
I was a multi-sport. I was a seasonal sport athlete. So if it was baseball season, I was playing baseball. If it was basketball season, I was playing basketball. If it was football season, I was playing football until my junior year of high school. And then I was like, man, I've had a couple of conversations with some men that I respected. One of them was our AD, who was also our head football coach, and was like, look, you can keep doing this, but from what I've seen of you and what I know of you from our other coaches, you have a real future in baseball, like a real legitimate shot.
How old were you in this
I
conversation?
was 16 years old.
Sophomore, junior.
Sophomore. I think I was going into my junior year. And we needed a quarterback. That's what I played. But it was like, for him to have that conversation with me and not selfishly be like, hey, come play for us, come compete for us. But to say, look, you've got a legitimate shot at doing this. It's your decision, but I'm just kind of giving you my 2 cents. I really appreciated that. The guy's name was Pat Collins. And so that was kind of when I put all my eggs into one basket, so to speak. But I played one summer select ball, which I love, because all of these dads that I talk to now, and some moms too, they're like, oh, my kid's got to be on the select team. They've got to be on the best select team. They got to play in all these tournaments. And it's like, with the amount of information and the amount of exposure you have now, if you are a talented player and you can play, they will find you.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on the best team. You don't have to be playing in every tournament. You don't have to select everything. And I would encourage parents to play as many sports as your kid wants to at a young age, because they don't get the burnout.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to play soccer, they want to play football, they want to play basketball, they want to play tennis or golf, whatever, baseball, do that. But don't sell out to one sport so early.
So I played 0 games of select baseball growing up.
Yeah.
I was a seasonal athlete like you. I did everything under the sun, mostly football, basketball, baseball. My parents were always good, and like during the winter, we would go snow skiing or snowboarding. In the summers, we would go to the lake and wakeboard and stuff. And I always tell people, one of my greatest attributes, one of my greatest strengths is when I put all my eggs in one basket, is I love baseball.
Yeah.
I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. Like, I even played 2 sports my senior year. I skipped basketball season because, basketball, baseball overlap. And I was like, at that point, I was like, my future, or where I want to go, is baseball. I want to go to college and play baseball. I was never thinking about the pros. I just want to play baseball in college. And when I got to college and I had to go to school and baseball, that was it. I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Like, I played with so many kids just in my high school, and there wasn't a lot of kids in my high school. There was probably some kids more talented than me, but they finally had a choice to make in their life, like go to University of Arizona State, and go have fun and just be done with baseball and just be a regular student. Where I was like, I'm going to go to this small Division II school because I still love playing it. Like, I don't care where the field is, where I'm playing. Like,
Right.
I genuinely love it. And I got so much better because I loved it.
Yeah, I agree. You don't realize how much you love it until it does become your main thing. And you're like, man, I thought I just liked to play sports. I thought I just liked being a part of a team, having success. Man, that was huge for me as a kid. I was not a very overly confident kid. I was very self-conscious about myself. I was never that guy. I think my size gave me a little bit of advantage when I was younger, but I was always a very high ceiling, but a very low floor guy because of the swing and miss. And so I was drafted by the Yankees out of high school in the 50th round, third from the last pick.
Wow.
50th round.
50th
How many
round.
rounds are there now?
I think 20 now.
Yeah.
20?
Yeah.
And I always think about too, like in my case, and maybe it was different if I would have got drafted today, but like the round I got drafted in doesn't even exist anymore. So like I'm like living proof of like, you know, hard work, perseverance. Like I always think about that. Like, man, was I even good enough to go in the 20th round if that's all there was?
Yeah. But I think you made this this point earlier. I think a lot of that got you to where you are. I think if you don't have that struggle early on, like I had a ton of success in the minor leagues, got called up at the age of 22, had a ton of success as a rookie, and then fell flat on my face in 09 and 2010, where I was left off the World Series roster in 2010. I went from being an everyday guy to a what they call a 4A player, and being called up and being the bench guy. So having to learn how to be a bench player at a young age. Thank goodness I was young. I was 24. But it's freaking hard, man. I can't imagine having to do it as an older guy. Like I couldn't do it as an older guy, but having to really face that adversity early on in my career, one, I think it really brought my feet back down to the ground. I think it humbled me. But I also think it just reiterated that work ethic. And it's like, hey man, I know that I'm talented. I know that I've got some strengths, but everybody here is talented and everybody here has their own strengths. What are they doing differently? And what am I going to do differently to separate myself from them? And for me, it was always work, probably to the point later in my career where it was at my detriment because I overworked myself. But I couldn't live with myself if I didn't do everything under the sun to prepare myself or at least give myself the best opportunity to succeed.
Where do you think you got that from?
I think a lot of that came from my parents. My dad was super hard on me when I was young, very critical. So early on, it was like, it's not about your 3 for 4, 3 home runs. It's about that fourth at bat. What did you do your fourth at bat? So I think just that mindset, I was always like, I'm not good enough. So like I may have had a great game, but I wasn't perfect today. And my mom is the complete opposite of that. She's like super positive, like you're doing great, you know. So it was like complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So I think in that I learned, hey, I've got some skill, I've got some advantages physically, but if I don't work, I'm never going to take advantage of this. And I was very fortunate to play with a lot of guys who were more talented than I was, and I saw the guys that did do extra things or did work hard and how much better they were, and I saw the guys that didn't do a lot of extra and how they just kind of fizzled out.
So as a dad, and obviously you have girls, it's probably a little bit different with girls. I got 2.
Nah, looking at the NFL league.
No, I'm saying,
year, right?
I know.
Flag champs, baby. Yeah,
no,
I
know.
Those rings.
I know. Our daughters played on the same team.
Yeah.
I saw
right,
him,
right.
but I know it's different with girls because I have a girl. How are you with them when it comes to sports? Because I always feel like as a professional athlete, and you guys could probably attest to this too, where I have a brother who didn't make it, I feel like there's naturally an overcompensation when you didn't make it. So it's like you want, it's not a bad way of going about it, but you want something better for your kids. You know, my brother thinks about, you know, all the things maybe he didn't do in order to get to where he wanted to go. And maybe there's this overcompensation with his kids where we know the recipe, you know, and you know, I'm different with my daughter and you have daughters, but even with my son, it's like, it's just so laid back because I understand the most important thing is he has to love it. Like I can't force the love on him. I'm not going to take him in the cage and throw him 10,000 balls a day and be like, hey, you're going to be the next Derek Jeter. It's like, it has to stem from you loving it. You coming to me and telling me there's a time and place where he's going to come to me. Hopefully it's around 12, 13 years old and be like, Dad, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, I'm all ears. I'm all in. Whatever you want to do, I'm here for you. But he has to love it.
Yeah. So when we found out that we were having a girl for our first kid, I was super relieved because I didn't want all the expectations of my career and my life thrust on a little boy. And so I was super relieved and I really struggled. So I coached her in basketball until she was in, I think 3rd grade was when she stopped playing. She's into volleyball now and all my kids are into sports. But Ella is very like opposite of me. Like she's very like, calculated. Like I'm super impulsive. I'm super aggressive. I'm loud. I probably talk too much. Like I've got a high motor. She is way more calculated, way more like I'm gonna prepare, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna be ready, and I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's not a lot of like impulsiveness in her. So coaching her was a real challenge. And I always said early on, I think it made me a better man having to coach little girls, because one of the first practices we were at, I was fired up. Like we did this drill in there in like first grade and kindergarten. And they get this drill right. And I was like jacked up that they were doing it right. And I'm like, yeah. And one of the little girls goes, Coach Chris, are you mad at us? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? I'm so happy for you guys right now. And she's like, well, you look like you're mad at us. And I'm like, okay, I need to bring it down. Like these to these girls, I'm probably intense and scary. And so for a long time, for several years, it made me realize like I've got to be very mindful of my delivery and how I talk to him and what I say to him, because to your point, I know that I'm going to love whatever I'm doing. If I don't love it, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play a sport that I just kind of like, you know, I'm going to be all in, but not everybody has that same mentality, especially a younger kid who doesn't really know what they love yet. So I think early on, it was a challenge for me. We got to a point last year during her select season where I basically had to like take a step back and I told my wife, I was like, I want it too bad for her. I want her to want it how badly I want it. And that's just, I think my competitive nature. If I do anything, I want to be the best at it. And if I'm not, I'm going to try to find out a way to be the best. And so when I don't see that drive and we're talking about a 10, 11-year-old girl, when I don't see that drive in someone, I try to find a way to pull it out of them. And for me, it was like, hope she doesn't need me to do that for her. She needs me to be her dad and be supportive. Now the other two, the twins, Evie's a lot like Ella in that sense. Grace is super competitive. And so she's been a different challenge to coach because she does want to be good and she does want to practice and she wants to play all the sports. So it's going to be another adjustment as she gets older to see how I handle that. But I really would encourage people, especially former athletes, to be involved in their kids' sports careers, because you have a perspective and a dynamic that a lot of people don't. And I think, to your point, you realize that like, hey, this was my journey, but it doesn't have to be your journey. And so you don't have to be all in all the time. And I think now, being, you know, close to 40 and my kids being a little bit older, I think I understand that more, and I want them to have fun, because once you stop having fun, it's hard to reinfuse that fun back into it.
So you also get the privilege and fortune to coach at a local high school
Yeah.
here at Liberty Christian. You know, when I was, still trying to play in spring training last year, I was going out there quite a bit. So, being around high school kids, baseball players specifically that are, maybe trying to climb the same ladder we did, like what kind of resource are you for them? What kind of message do you send to them? Is it a lot, like you said, like, just because I had this journey, you don't have to have this journey. If you just want to play high school, that's fine.
Yeah.
What kind of questions are you getting asked from these kids?
I think this is my second year, and I've been there a lot more this year. Like I was there in the fall, and so I know these kids a little bit better. And we talk a lot of baseball, like, and I'm very fortunate to coach kids that are talented and that want to be good, that want to work and want to do these things. So it's been a lot of fun for me. But I think one of the greatest things about Liberty is there's this underlying tone of identity, and we talk about it all the time. Like at some point in time, the game's going to be taken away from you. You don't know. Maybe it's an injury. Maybe it's just a missed opportunity. Hopefully you get to play as long as you want and you have all the success that you want. But for most guys, that's just not the case. And so I think the biggest thing that I try to communicate to my guys is work like it's the last day of your career. Do everything that you can to prepare yourself and enjoy it. Because the things that I miss the most are the things that you can't go back and get. They're the times in the clubhouses. They're the times at the hotel, on the bus, giving guys a hard time, wearing out, being a part of a team, being a part of a unit that's got a single goal in mind, and everybody's trying to do what they can to help accomplish that goal. Those are the things that I miss. And honestly, those are the things that I've gotten back being a part of a coaching staff. And we have a really good group of guys. But I think, just going back to your question, the thing that I really try to instill in guys is work like it's the last day of your career. and enjoy it, because you never know when it's gonna be gone. And we all talk about this. I know it's cliche to say it, like nobody gets to choose how their career ends. Man, it's so true. Like I was the guy that had the guaranteed contract that had X amount of years left, and I didn't even make it to the end of that contract because physically and mentally I couldn't do it anymore.
So I love that you said that. For some, you get to a point where like you get cut from a team, or you whatever, and you think it could be your last day, and then you get another shot.
Yeah. So I had two. One I didn't find out about until later in my career when I'd already established myself and been in the big leagues for a while, which was kind of funny. But if you'd have told me this in the moment when it actually happened, I probably would have freaked out. But I started my professional career like 1 for 32, like a 5th round pick, and I was just getting blown up, sawed off, like couldn't find the barrel.
This is in the minor leagues.
This is my
Okay.
this is Spokane short season. I'd like just been drafted, and apparently I was days away from being released.
Really?
Yeah, Scott Service was our farm director. He was with
And
the
you were
Mariners.
5th round pick?
5th round pick.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, and but it was me when I'm down, striking out a bunch, not making weak contact, just look like I'd never played baseball before, and I think a lot of it was the adjustment to the wood bat, because I'd really only played with the wood bat in summer.
Yeah.
And even then, it's kind of like you're not having to deal with it on a daily basis. And I think also playing every day.
Yeah.
At the living by yourself, the minor league, it's now a job. The stakes are a little bit higher. But I didn't really. I went into the manager and I said, "Hey man, I'm better than this. I promise you. Like I need to make some adjustments, and I have no idea where to start." And I think that actually bought me some more time. I ended up getting hot and finishing really, really strong that season, and going to instructs and doing really well. So that was kind of the start of my success. And then when I was in Round Rock in 2011, I was out of options. I was hitting like 4 something. I think I had like 24 home runs in like 48 games. Like I was insanely hot. Like every time I touched the ball, I was doing damage, and I was freaking miserable. My wife was working at Scottish Rite Children's Hospital in Dallas. She wasn't my wife yet. She was my fiance. So I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment by myself, didn't have any furniture, had a blow up mattress on the floor. And I was just like
living that life.
And it was a bunch of guys that were in AAA that were either really high prospects or were nobody. Like Kevin Cash was our catcher.
Yeah.
And he was almost done with baseball. But then we had guys that were prospects. So it was like they were either about to get called up or they were the guys that were coming up and filling in, like Julio Bourbon, Gentry, Tommy Hunter was in our bullpen. I think O'Day was rehabbing down there. So we had guys that were like, nobody was in there to win the AAA championship.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of guys that were moving. And I just remember being in my apartment after a game, and I was like, I was so mad and I was so bitter. And I'm like, man, I should be having so much fun right now because I'm so locked in at the plate, and I was playing the outfield a little bit too, playing third base. But every time I got called up, I was sitting on the bench, and then and it was like, oh, we're going to put you in the outfield. We're going to get you some work in the outfield. And it would never happen. And so I was just over it. And I literally, after a game one night, went back to the apartment, fell asleep, woke up the next morning, didn't want to go to the field. And I just prayed. And I was like, God, if this is all that you have for me, then I need a sign. I need something else. Because if it's not, I'm going to finish out the season and I'm going to do something else because I'm wasting my time right now. And I literally got traded like 2 weeks later to Baltimore. I thought I was going to San Diego. So I'm like,
why did you think you were going to San Diego?
Those were the two teams that were interested. I think Heath Bell was still there. That was kind of the conversation in spring training. And so the conversations that I'd had with my agent were San Diego, and I can't remember the other team, but Baltimore wasn't even on the radar. And so I was like, sweet, I'm going to San Diego, sunshine, man. I'm playing the West Coast. And he's you're going to Baltimore.
Texas lost that trade 100%.
Yeah.
But
who was the trade? Who's the trade?
Koji Uehara.
It was me and Tommy Hunter for Koji Uehara.
Tommy had a nice career too.
Yes, he
did.
did.
Dude, but I remember, so a couple years later, I had made my debut in 12
against us. Wasn't it?
Against this
Baltimore.
guy right here. Yeah. But I remember going to Texas that year, and that was when their bullpen was Joe Nathan,
yep,
Alexia Gondo, Neftali, and Koji.
Yep.
And I was like, these guys, like, if this is what a big league bullpen looks like,
Yeah, they were loaded.
this is going to be a real quick career for me because they were nasty.
I was traded in 2011. The first base coach with the Orioles was the outfield coordinator in the minor leagues when I was there. His name's Wayne Kirby.
Yeah.
So Buck brought him over. The pitching coach was a guy named Rick Adair, who was a pitching coordinator in the minor leagues when I was there. And you have to you should ask Buck the story of how that trade worked out, like what the conversation. Maybe he'll tell you, maybe he won't.
He probably will.
But Buck knew that Rangers farm system really, and we were loaded. I think we were number one farm system for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Or if not number one, we were definitely top three.
Yeah, because that was post like Mark Teixeira trade.
Teixeira, Eric Gagne.
Yeah.
Then we had, I think, Tommy's draft in 2007. I think we had 5 picks before the second round.
Yeah.
So we were loaded. And I got traded in 2011 at the trade deadline to Baltimore with Tommy. We ended up acquiring Taylor Teagarden. I don't remember how we got Pedro Strop, Zach Phillips, Clay Rapata, but Darren O'Day.
I was going to say, how did Darren O'Day get over there?
I think maybe like a waiver, like
because he was the guy. Another guy went from Texas to Baltimore, right?
Yeah. We were actually in Toronto when Darren O'Day was called up, or excuse me, I think traded or signed him away from New York, and he showed up in Toronto wearing Kason Gabbard's jersey because it was such a it happened so fast that they didn't have time to make him a jersey.
No way.
Yeah. I've got a lot of really weird ties to Toronto, by the way.
Yeah, I want to hear them. I want to go back to something you said though about you starting 1 for 32 and you having that sense of humility, asking for help.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of athletes are afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. Do you see in your experience now working at the high school level, are there guys that you work with there at the high school that are comfortable enough to ask for help?
Yeah.
And do you obviously you encourage that
100%.
sort of thing? Yeah.
That's kind of the conversation that I have with guys, because if you, especially on a baseball field, like if you're with me on a baseball field and you don't really know me, I think I can come off as kind of being unapproachable, because, and it's not because I'm not enjoying myself, but a lot of times it's just I'm thinking, or I'm focused on what I'm doing, or like I think there's an intensity that I have that it's just always kind of been around sports. So I make that very clear to guys early on. Ask me questions. Like, I'm not going to sit here and break down every swing that you take. Like, first of all, I'm probably going to watch you for a little bit to see what I have to work with. If I see something that maybe we can tweak or we can work on, I'll throw I'll throw it at you and see what you want to do. But for the most part, I tell guys, like, ask me questions. And a lot of our kids are, we do have that relationship to where it's like, hey, I'm feeling this, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, well, let's, we'll make these adjustments. But I think kids are more comfortable now. I think it's more acceptable now to ask questions. I think back in the day, it was just like, hey, get the job done. You know, like, and if you asked, in my head, it was like, if I ask a question, then they may think that I don't know, but if I ask a question, then they know that I don't know. And so, I was just at a place where I'm like, these guys, this is the first impression I'm making with these guys, and I would go out and take BP, and it would be like big league BP. And then the game would start, and it's like, I can't find the barrel to save my life. And so I think that was really it was just a point for me. It's like, hey man, I need help, and nobody's really offering it, but I know it's here. I know you guys have invested something in me financially. So, and after that, it was great. I mean, I had coaches that were extremely awesome, very good, very hands-on, gave me a ton, and I just took it and ran with it.
I want to go back to early childhood. Your parents were the ones that got you involved in baseball. You have an older brother. Was
No,
that
I have an
neighborhood
older sister.
kids?
Older sister, 3 years older. I think from the time I could walk, I was in athletics. I mean,
Were
I
your
played.
parents athletes?
My mom was. I think my dad played in high school.
Okay.
My mom was athletic. I mean, you got to remember, this is back in when they didn't have as many options for sports for girls, but they ran track at Lufkin High School. My mom is a twin sister, an identical twin sister, and they were both on the track team. I saw my parents play like sports, like softball, when I was young. So there was some athleticism. I'm kind of a freak in my family. My dad's like 6 foot, like $185. My mom's like 5'5". So, and my grandparents are shorter. My dad's got, I think, a little bit of height on his family, but
Is your sister taller?
She's like 5'8", so
Okay.
not short,
Yeah,
but
a little bit,
but
yeah.
not like, you know.
5'11", 6'1".
But yeah, my dad would tell me this story when I was younger, that I was 3 years old and I was in the backyard and I had a bat in my hand and I was throwing the ball up and hitting it. And he was like, "That's a little different for a 3-year-old." I mean, you got kids, you know,
Yeah.
like when it's like, "Whoa, okay, where's that coming from?" So, but I always I always played sports. I think I was pretty good for the most part, from an early age. And I loved being active. So they didn't really have to push me in any direction. It was just like, all right, what season are we going to play what sport now? So
you mentioned your high school football coach, athletic
mhm.
director, having that honest conversation with you, telling
Yeah.
you he believes you had a future in baseball. Is that kind of when you felt like you had a future in baseball? Leading up to that, you knew you were obviously probably pretty good. You were
Yeah.
better than most kids.
Yeah. I'd had a lot of success. I switched high schools after my freshman year, for academic reasons, obviously. But it was a bigger high school, a little bit more exposure, a little bit more competitive. And I had been at that point in time, I'd started to get recruiting letters in football, but I'm like, man, am I really going to go play Division I football? Like, do I really want to? I knew what that commitment looked like, and I knew that I wasn't going to be good enough at both of them to play both. So I think that was really the first time that I was like, all right, I'm all in on baseball. I had been to some showcases here and there, like not like a national showcase, like a drive 2.5 hours from Longview to Dallas and play in like an area tournament, and was always kind of the better one. I was good off the mound, and I had a lot of power. And so I think I kind of understood my skill set. And then I started getting recruited pretty heavily my junior year, in baseball. And I went to a national showcase, the only one I ever went to in Nebraska at, University of Nebraska, and had the best BP I've ever had in my life. I think out of 20 pitches, I hit 18 out, and the 2 that I didn't hit out were foul. And I was nobody at that point. Like, nobody knew who I was. They were like, "Who the hell is this kid?"
Who
Like,
were like because what year did you graduate high school?
04.
So who were like the big dogs in 04? Like
In
on
the
the
state of
national
Texas, Homer Bailey, I think, was the first.
dude. He was a dude. Yeah.
Out of LaGrange. That's hard. Being in East Texas, you're like,
Was 04, was that Justin Upton's class?
no, he was 05.
05?
Upton was at that national
Yeah.
showcase
Do you remember
too.
names? Do you remember names from that national showcase?
Man, Drayback.
Oh, Kyle
Oh
Draybeck.
yeah.
Yep.
Dad played in the big leagues too.
Yep.
I was a teammate of
Um,
mine. There's the Toronto connection again.
Yeah.
Oh, that was you know who was the number 1 pick that year? Matt Bush.
Matt Bush was number 1 pick that
Matt
year.
Bush.
So, and you got to remember, like, I didn't do a lot of, that was one showcase that I went to. And the funny story is our flight got delayed. So I was supposed to hit in the first group because it was a perfect game. So you had navy, white, and red. And I had to hit, I was the last guy to hit right before. So we get there late. We're getting our stuff, we're getting checked in, and they're already on the field hitting. So I was already like a nervous wreck. And I'm like, I told you, I was an insecure kid. So I was like, dude, I'm with it. These are the dudes. These are like Matt Bush is here. You know, like all these guys that I've read about in Perfect Game are here, and I'm not on this list that I know of. So I'm sitting in the dugout before we take BP, and somebody fouls one off, and I look up, and it bounces right in front of me in the dugout and hits me right in the forehead, and I'm like, "Get me the fuck out of here! I don't belong here. This is just sign. Like, I'm scrub. I had long hair at the time. I looked like an idiot." And then I go to proceed to have the best BP of my life. But that was the first time that I was like, I don't know if I cracked the top 100 after that, but people were like, "Oh, this dude's got some juice."
That's cool.
Clearly, that showcase got you your one-way ticket to Texas.
That got me my scholarship off the University of Nebraska talked to me after that. I talked a little bit with LSU. I was a huge LSU fan growing up. I was a big Texas football fan growing up, but loved Gorilla Ball, loved Skip Berkman.
Dude, yeah, because that was
who didn't?
like 04 would have been, 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
Was
in the
like
90s was Brad Cressy, Eddie Furness, Warren Morris, like just
Todd
launching
Walker.
balls. Yeah. So that was really like that was the summer before my junior year that I started getting recruited really heavily that fall. Was really close to committing to the University of Nebraska, was going to play shortstop alongside Alex Gordon.
That's right. Dude, Gordo and Jabba Chamberlain, right?
Jabba Chamberlain was on that team. I think Fusilier was on it. Some guys that definitely made it to the big leagues and had some good careers. But they had a shortstop named Joe Simicadis who played minor league ball, but he had just had Tommy John, so he wasn't going to be able to play that year. And so it was like, this is the conversation. I was a shortstop in high school. And so they were, and yeah, no, I wasn't this big. I was like 6'3", 215. I wasn't 6'3", 240. But I was really close to committing to play at Nebraska, and Texas was the number 1 team in the country at that point. Obviously, I grew up a Longhorn fan, Longhorn football fan, and Tommy Harmon called me and was like, "Don't commit to Nebraska yet. Take your official visit here next week." I went down there. Houston Street was my host.
Who called you?
Tommy Harmon. He was the hitting coach at the time.
Okay.
Augie didn't make those calls. And so I went down there. Houston was my host. And yeah, I committed that Sunday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that Texas, so you said Houston was, Houston Street was, because that was when Texas, I mean, it was pretty much Texas, like they were the powerhouses then.
That 05 team.
Was Stubbs there? Drew Stubbs was there?
And so I played against him in high school. He's a year older than me, so he was 03 grad.
Dude, he was another guy who was just
he's a monster.
Freaking dude.
Specimen.
I got to play with him in Cleveland, and he was just super impressive.
I still talk to him quite a bit. Like if we've gone to the last few college football playoff games or postseason bowl games with Tech for the Longhorns. Not together, but we'll meet up and grab a beer and then go watch the game. But that team, that 05 team that I would have been a part of as a freshman, had I not screwed myself out of a scholarship, won the national championship. Houston Street, Jay Brent Cox, Taylor Teagarden, Will Crouch, Seth Johnston, Chance Wheelis, the guy that replaced me. So I switched at the semester, went to Navarro. Their third baseman came and went to Texas, Clay Van Hook.
Okay.
Won a national championship.
Dang.
Yeah.
So you're at Texas for a semester. And then you end up having to leave to go to Navarro.
Yeah, I think there were like 11 of us that flunked out.
Man.
Yeah, bad decisions. I went to college thinking like college is gonna be as easy as high school is. Like high school was a breeze. I was a good student, didn't have to work hard, and had never had freedom in my life. Like had a 10:30 curfew as a senior in high school. Like I had never had experienced freedom like that. We had a 4-bedroom, 4-bath apartment off campus with 4 freshmen, 2 of which were Houston Street's younger twin brothers. So they're from Westlake. They know everybody. It was a recipe for disaster.
So all right. So let's stay here for a second, because this is probably one of those points that you're like, all right, which way's up? Like, is this over?
Yeah.
Right. And I know junior college is a thing, but this is kind of a big, so you're ineligible.
Yeah.
And so do you have to go through the recruiting process again? Is there conversations you're having with your family of hey, walk me through that.
So I passed 3 credit hours. I was
taking one class.
I passed 1 class. It was the show up, take care of business for about a month and a half, think I've got it made, and start skating.
Yeah.
Started focusing more on baseball. I was having some success and I wanted to start as a freshman, and there was an opportunity maybe because David Morrell, who was the third baseman, had some shoulder stuff. So I thought that there was a legitimate chance that I could start. So I started focusing more on that, was going out partying, doing stupid stuff that 18-year-old shouldn't be doing. And we got back from Thanksgiving break, and our academic advisor, who was in her first year, was told that we had multiple players failing, some upperclassmen too. So they had this big meeting, call all of us in one by one. We got to sit there and get chewed out, and rightfully so. I think she got fired on the spot. They brought somebody new in, and a couple of guys were able to stay. They claimed, I don't know exactly how if it was they were gonna play, so they had to pass a certain amount of hours. So I had to pass 9 hours in 1 month to even be eligible to play in the spring. So my dad was basically like, if you don't pass these, you're never playing baseball again. So it was very, very close to being over. Legitimately, he's like, you will never play baseball again.
His rules.
Yeah. So I'm assuming if I would have been like, okay, and then gone and tried to play baseball, I would have been homeless without any sort of financial help from. I took him pretty seriously, and so yeah, I took a mini semester back home, took 2 online courses, made A's in all of them, and was declared eligible in the spring. Played my freshman year in the spring at Navarro. I think I played third.
Okay.
And then that summer, I just made up my mind. I was like, look, if I'm going to go play Division I college baseball, I've got to get serious about this, like all of it. I can't be screwing around anymore, making these stupid decisions. Like I've got to get really serious about this, or I'm going to piss away a really good opportunity.
Yeah.
So my mindset just kind of changed and took off from there.
So, all right. So you're at Navarro. So you're the spring of your freshman year, and then you go back to Navarro and you spend a whole nother year there.
Yep.
Is that when you get drafted by?
So I was drafted after my freshman year by the Angels in the 35th round.
Okay.
So I did have an opportunity to go. I was at DNF, so draft and follow.
Yep.
Went and played.
Those have been haven't been a thing
I don't even
for
think
a while.
that they exist anymore. So I went on. I went that summer. It was funny because that summer I played in the West Coast Collegiate Baseball League, which was with California, Oregon, Canada, I think Washington State.
That's cool.
It was fun. Had an opportunity to play in the Cape, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was ready. And went up there and did really well, and was told like, hey, if you go up there and have success, there's a chance that they could offer you a contract. The scouting, I don't know if he was a scouting director or the cross-checker, had some things happen and he wasn't able to get out there and see me. So
I think at the time, probably then, was it Tom Kochman?
The guy that I remember, his name was Arnold Breathawaite.
Huh. Remember Casey Kochman?
Yeah.
His dad was like the guy in Anaheim forever. And he was manager for the Orem Owls as well in Pioneer League.
So
I think it was Pioneer League.
So I went up there and had a really good summer, and I think that was part of it too. Like I played against like Darwin Barney, Tommy Hansen, some of the guys that ended up playing in the big leagues. So I'm like, okay, these guys are legit. Like Division I played against guys from Oregon State. I think Oregon State was really good that year. That was 2000.
I know Darwin won a national championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
At Oregon State. I don't know what year. I just know he was.
That might have been.
Was
Jacoby there at the same time as
Ellsbury?
Darwin?
No, I think he's a little bit older than me. I think he's a little bit older.
I just know
than me.
he won one because
I know Darwin.
He was a national champion.
I know Jacoby was there.
And one of our pitchers was from Oregon State. So I'm like, okay, I'm playing against legit Division I dudes.
Yeah.
And having success. And so I was like, this is when I was like, yeah, I feel like you kind of always have to prove it to yourself. Do I belong? You know, like, do I belong in the minor leagues? Okay. Do I belong in the big leagues? Can I stay in the big league? You know, and I think it was one of those points in my career where I was like, okay, I belong here.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I played Division II baseball, dominated Division II my freshman year, my sophomore year. Junior year, I have a 54-game hit streak. I'm starting to get a little bit of attention. I get invited to play in the Northwoods League, as a walk-on, 10-day contract, whatever. I walk into the clubhouse. I got guys from UCLA, Texas A&M. First time in my life, I felt like the outcast, right?
Yeah.
I watched these guys hit BP, and I'm like, my BP is not like that. I watch these guys throw. I don't throw like that. But when the lights came on, I was the guy, and that was the first time I believed like I belonged and that I could make it.
Yeah.
I still wasn't even thinking that far down the line, like I could make it, but that was the reality check that I probably needed and gave me the most confidence was being around these guys that were at schools that I had no business playing at. But when the lights came on, I was better than these guys.
Yeah. I love that story. I love those stories because I think those are the guys that end up having good big league careers. The guys, and not to say that guys that, are 1-1s or first round picks can't make it, but I feel like if you've been told your whole life that you're the guy, then you start to believe it. But you have to prove that you're the guy. And a lot of times for me, that had to come in a situation to where I was like, I do not feel like the guy. Like I need to go out and prove it to myself that I can compete with these guys and that I can rise above them. And I think a lot of the guys that I played against and played with were those guys. Like they had to go out and prove it.
I think him and I, we've talked quite a bit, and we were talking about this one time. Like, I can only name off like all the guys that were considered like phenoms, right? Like, and I say like guys that were considered phenoms at like the ages of like 13, 14, 15, right? Like, the guys, right? Like everybody's talking about this guy. I did start playing travel baseball at the age of 12. And so like I got to see some guys, you know, at AAU Nationals. I'm from Orlando, Florida. We're playing Nationals, and these kids from, you know, you got these giant kids from Texas and these giant kids from Southern California, and you're like, what in the world? Like, you know, and you know, like I remember one of those guys was Robert Stock. I don't know if you guys know who
So
Robert
I grew
Stock.
up with Robert Stock.
Bro,
Robert
he
Stock
was
we're the same age. Robert Stock grew up same neighboring high school to mine. If people don't know his story, at 16 years old, he was deemed to be the next Bryce Harper. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16. If he would have just graduated high school, he would have been 1-1. No doubt about it. He was the 1-1
but he went
pick.
early to SC.
He graduated high school early, went to USC, and kind of fizzled out. He's played in the big leagues.
He's had a big league career. He's definitely had a big league career.
He's bounced around, but like to your
Really?
point,
But
like,
the only one who's like ever been like deemed a guy and turned out to be a guy that I can recall is Harper. That's it.
and maybe Griffey before that, or maybe A-Rod, but like it's
I
very,
wasn't there for
very
that,
like,
I would put Jay up in that conversation. I mean, maybe.
Really?
I mean,
Jeff's maybe a little older than me. Like, so I don't remember him as like a
he was
amateur.
You know, Upton.
Yeah. I mean, multiple All-Stars. I'm not like
he was. That's a good point because he was
Hall of Famer.
Bryce Harper's a superstar. Like, that being like what you were talking about with Robert Stock kid, being deemed that next guy, like a generational type talent, and missing like Ben Grieve is or not Ben Grieve, Moneyball. Billy Bean is like the epitome of that story.
Yeah.
Like,
And I remember facing Robert Stock. We played the same little league, and I remember the first time facing Kid Pitch. It was like, you know, fouling a ball off was a win. You you get high fives in the dugout. My dad would come up and be like, "Give me a fist." My dad would like high five me in the dugout because I fouled a pitch off against him. Like that's how good he was.
Yeah. But you're right. That's another good call because Upton. I do remember hearing Upton's name a lot. Like, granted, I was a little bit younger. I was 07 draft class.
Yeah.
But he was the younger brother of BJ. Yeah. You know. And it was like these Upton kids from Virginia, where David Wright's from. Like all these guys ran together. But you know, I had the pleasure of playing with Justin in Anaheim, and dude, like absolute stud talent. But for a guy that's had as much helium attached to him for his entire life, dude, not a better guy. Like good not dude. A better dude. Like just the man. All right, so you go and you play in these summer leagues and all this stuff. You get drafted by Anaheim. They obviously don't give you a contract that you end up signing. They may have offered you something in the draft and follow process, but
I don't know if they had offered me a contract. I don't think I would have signed because in my head, well, I was a 35th rounder. Not to say that you can't make it as a 35th rounder, but at that time, I knew enough to know like the higher I get picked, the more opportunity I should get. That's not always the case, but like it's easier to dismiss a guy who's a late pick because you don't have as much invested in him. But you talk about like, and so going in my sophomore year, starting that summer, I was like, I want to be a top 10 pick, top 10 rounds, not top 10 overall. I didn't know if I had the ability to be a top 10 pick. But I thought if I can get drafted in the top 10 rounds, and I feel like I'm ready. And that was another thing too. Like I needed that summer to play against other guys, to play against D1 guys, to prove it to myself that I like that it wasn't a myth. It wasn't, you know,
you're not just better than the competition you're playing against.
Right.
Like no matter, my game translates no matter where it goes.
Right. And I'll say this, I played against multiple guys and with multiple guys at the junior college level that made it to the big leagues. But I didn't know that world because I wasn't really scouted, or I wasn't really recruited as a junior college player because I was recruited by Division I school. So I always thought junior college was a step down. Like there, to this day, like my sophomore year, I would have put our junior college team up against a lot of Division I teams. Like that's how much talent we had, and in our conference,
especially the draft and follow days, man. There were some guys playing JUCO.
And I didn't know that once you went to a Division I school, you had to wait until you're 21 to be draft eligible. I didn't realize that you could be drafted again multiple times after your senior year of high school if you went to junior college.
So is that what happened? You go play summer ball, you come back to your junior college, you play your sophomore year, you get drafted after that season?
That was the Rangers in the 5th round. And I had committed to play at University of Arkansas with two of my buddies
I was going to ask you if you had recommitted anywhere, if like Texas was on the radar or anything.
Yeah, so I really wanted to go back to Texas, and they were like, "No shot." Like
Really?
yeah,
Burn
and
the
it wasn't
bridge.
anything other than like, you're going to get drafted. We can't." And I needed
So
scholarships.
the bridge wasn't burned there. They
No,
just
no,
felt
no.
like you weren't signable at
No,
that
and
point.
I wasn't a bad kid. Like I made some stupid decisions, but like deep down, like I was a good kid and I was respectful, and I worked hard. I think they saw a lot of those things. I think there was some disappointment, but
Was Augie still there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Tommy Harmon, who was the
Yeah.
hitting coach who recruited me, and his reasoning was, we can't afford to waste a scholarship on you and then you sign. And I was in a position where like I needed a scholarship to go to junior college. So
Yeah.
so I knew that I had to have a scholarship wherever I went. And I understood that, but it still pissed me off. And so immediately after that, I was like, I'm going to A&M, which is like, if you know anything about Texas sports, like Texas and Texas A&M hate each other. A&M really hates Tech, but I'm like, I'm going to go to the one place where I can shove it up Texas's ass. Like that was my mindset, because I wanted to go there for so long.
Gigging.
And that didn't, and I knew the head coach at A&M. He was the recruiting guy at Nebraska when I was in high school. And so it ended up not working out. I ended up going to Arkansas and loving it. Committed there, and then was drafted in the 5th round and signed.
Okay. Nice.
Well, so you get drafted in the 5th round. You obviously set this goal to be a top 10 round draft pick. Was it a decision? Was it a financial decision you decided to sign? Mentally, did you feel like you were ready?
Yeah, it was more.
And obviously, from the sound of it, this is an assumption I'm making, but you saying you need a scholarship to play at junior college and also at Texas,
Yeah,
coming from humble beginnings, like the money that you were offered changed your life, your family's life.
it wasn't. So Texas had a 1st rounder, a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder, and a 5th rounder. So I was their 4th pick, but I was a 5th rounder. I got 179.5, so not life-changing money, but still a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Our 4th rounder got 1.4 million. So that
Who
kind
was the 4th rounder?
Marcus Lemon.
Oh,
Chet
dude,
Lemon.
yeah, Chet Lemon. Yeah, he's an Orlando kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super good dude. I don't think he ever made it above AA. But we had in that class, I think me and Gentry are the only 2 guys in that draft that made it to the big leagues. So it was.
So you're saying it's imperfect science.
Yeah. Who's the 1st rounder? that year?
100%.
Who's the 1st rounder?
Casey Kiker, lefty out of Phoenix City, Alabama.
Yeah, I remember him. Who's the 2nd runner?
We didn't have a 2nd rounder. I think he was a 3rd rounder. I think it was 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But it was either 2nd or 3rd. Chad Tracy. Not the redheaded Chad Tracy, Paul Tracy's son, the catcher from Pepperdine.
Oh, okay. I was like, about to say
Played in
Tracy.
AAA.
Yeah.
I think he might have managed in the minor leagues. 4th rounder was Marcus. I was the 5th rounder. 6th rounder was a guy named Grant Gerard, I think Brennan Garr, and then Craig Gentry.
It's funny too. I mean, this is just how competitive we are, because you see in a lot of other sports, you'll see like receivers, and they'll talk about like, I know all the receivers that were drafted before me. Do you remember the guys that were drafted in your class? First,
Yeah, I
second,
mean,
third,
dude, I was
fourth
the
round.
698th pick. I
I mean, I
remember
was
all
the
of them, but
I was the 949th pick.
Yeah.
I was a 32nd round draft pick.
Yeah.
I don't know everyone that was drafted in my class, but I do know the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounders in my class.
Yeah.
So Cleveland drafted me 2 years in a row. And so they drafted me in 2010 in the 16th round. And I immediately was like, I'm not signing.
Yeah.
You're telling me that y'all found 15 guys
Yeah,
that
that
you like better than me, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, kick rocks. I'm going back to school. I'm going to show you. The next year, they draft me in the 23rd round. And they called me, and I was like, how much you want to give me? I'll sign it. And I signed it. But then, it was funny. It's like my vendetta, not say vendetta, but like my edge didn't come from the guys that were drafted before me in 2011. I was looking at the guys that all got drafted before me, that they were like, no, we got to pay these guys. And like the guys they haggled with me over in 2010, the first time.
What did they offer you in 2010?
$100,000.
Okay.
$100,000 in the 16th round, which, it's fine. And, but it wasn't like, it wasn't a huge factor of like, man, this is life-changing money. Granted, $100,000 to me at that point would have been
life-changing.
amazing.
Life-changing money.
Yeah,
Yeah, for a couple years.
Yeah.
And, but it wasn't like this. I wasn't doing it for that, right? Like it was essentially kind of the same thing. It was like, hey, if you're willing to make an investment in me,
Yeah.
like you're making a far more significant investment in 15 other guys.
Yeah.
where does that leave me on your, like, how do you perceive me kind of
Yeah.
thing? And so when I came in the next year, I knew where all those guys were in the system. I knew where all those guys were. And dude, I played with a lot of them.
I think we all did that at some
Dude,
point.
oh, bro,
Like,
I
you're coming
took,
up through the rankings, and you're like, all right, who are their first
I
baseman?
won't name names, but I remember like,
You can name names.
Yeah. So you're in a safe space.
You're in a safe space.
To go back to the money thing, it wasn't totally about the money. Like I did at that point, like I said, have a little bit of an idea of like, hey, if they're investing this much money in me, then like I'm gonna get a little bit more opportunity than say a guy that they don't invest as much in. But the big part of me making the decision to go play is, am I ready? Do I feel like I'm ready to compete at the next level? Because I didn't want to get there and miss a shot, like, and so I was like, I know I can compete with Division I baseball players. I know I can compete and be elite at the junior college level. I'm ready to do this. And my one thing was, and I had to negotiate my own contract. That's a whole nother story. But
No, I want to hear about it after, because I'll tell you mine. It was a great story. Of
so
mine.
the guy that I had, it was a local guy. I'm not gonna give his name.
We're in a safe space. I'm
Yeah,
kidding,
he's a
kidding.
local guy. Like he's around here. Like I've seen him within the past calendar year. I signed, or I didn't sign. I went to the ballpark, and we're in the offices, and we get into this room, and it's the scout that drafted me. I think he was the area guy. He might have been a national guy at one point. The director of minor league player development, and then I think the assistant general manager. There was one other guy in there, and they told my agent to go stand in the hall. And I'm
no
like,
way.
all right.
And
So I started,
did?
and so I'm like, all right, I'm 19 years old. No, I'm 20 years old at this point. So I'm like, all right, 250,000, or I'm walking out that door. I didn't say it like that, but I was like, can I have $250,000? And because I thought like you remember there were like kind of slots
Yes,
at the
yeah,
time.
slots for sure. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I was a 5th rounder. Like that's about right.
Seems reasonable now. You
It does.
would have got broken off way more now.
Well, and I didn't know at the time that they were getting ready to give the 4th rounder $1.4 million. So there was this whole like, and they know like they're holding, they know what they're holding. Like I'm still waiting for the river. You know what I mean? So it's like he's like, well, we have a lot of guys to sign, and like we've got this guy, and he's asking for this, and like if we give you that, then we have to give our 6th rounder that. And I'm like, okay. And so they're like 150,000. So we go back and forth. And the whole time, every time I kept saying it. And so like I'd go out in the hall and like get on my phone and call no one and talk to my advisor, who at this point I'm like, well,
so what was the story? Why did they kick him out of the room? Was
they
this
they didn't want to talk to him. They were like,
this like a leverage thing on
I
their
think
point?
it was just a tactic. I think it was like,
okay, it
wasn't
like
something your agent had done.
No.
Okay,
He's a good dude. I mean, he's credible. Like
this was just their tactic of like,
put pressure on me, put me in the situation, get me in there.
Was Gene Lamont in this room?
No.
Okay.
And so we go back and forth, and my whole thing was I don't want to go to rookie ball. So at this time, I had a cousin who was in the minor league system with the Cardinals pitcher, and he's like, whatever you do, don't go to rookie ball. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, because you're going to face guys that have thrown 100 that have no clue where it is. He's like, it's no place for a guy. Like if you want to develop, go to short season. That's where the college guys are going to be. You're going to feel more at home. And so I'm like, this whole time I'm like, I don't want to go to rookie ball.
Arizona.
I don't want to go to rookie ball. I don't want to go to Arizona. I don't want to go to Arizona. And so we end up settling on the price, and they're like, all right, congratulations, you're going to Spokane. I'm like, sweet. And they're like, and you're going to be playing the outfield. And I'm like, what the like, I'm like, whatever, man. I'm in the system now. So I went there and played left field, and you've played outfield and are a very good outfielder. To me, left field is the hardest to play.
Yeah, it is.
And I had little to no instruction. My manager walked up to me at one point and was like, listen, I'm going to tell you how to play left field. And I go, how's that? And he goes, drive in more than you allow. And I'm like, this guy's name's Mike McCucci. I'm like, Cooch, I don't know if I can do that for a few weeks. But
who was the third baseman in Spokane?
Steven Marquardt. I think he was a Washington State guy. I think he was a high school guy. But we had a 5th-year senior sign out of Tennessee. Awesome dude, but he was a first baseman, and Marquardt was a third baseman. And I think in my pre-draft workout with the Rangers, I think I was probably a little shaky on the infield. I was not a great defender. I was athletic and I could defend, but it wasn't until I started coming up through the rankings in the minor leagues to where I heard people saying like, you know, it's like he can't run, he can't throw, or I could always throw. He can't run, he can't field, he's a bat, you know, like that, those sort of things. And I'm like, no, you hear those things and you're like, oh, I'm going to show you I can run, and I'm going to show you I can defend. So I made it a point to like really, really work on defense. And I, you know,
You ended up playing the outfield in the big leagues.
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is, for a while with the Rangers, my glove kept me in the big leagues. Like defensively, my glove kept me in the big leagues.
At what position?
First base.
At first base.
Mm-hmm. I didn't really understand. I didn't really get comfortable at third base until I went to spring training in 2011, and we had signed Beltre, and I worked with him every morning. He pulled his hamstring early in spring training, so he was pretty limited. So I got a ton of reps at third, but I got to do early work with him every morning. And you talk about, I mean, he's one of the greatest third basemen in my opinion of all time.
Probably the greatest. Probably
Brooks
greatest. Brooks is up there too. So you sign, you go to Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first experience in the minor leagues like? Were you as prepared as you thought you were? Did you dominate first year?
I did.
Was there a learning curve?
I was pretty settled early on. We were really bad. We were a really bad team. We could hit. We couldn't really pitch. Casey was like 94, 96, but he was really struggling with command. And you could tell that there was an emphasis on development, because it was like, we're not trying to win baseball games. We're trying to figure out how to get these, which was weird because I'd always won up to that point. And so there was a little bit of a learning curve. I think just a little bit of an adjustment with the wood bat. But once I got comfortable and started working on a few different things, and I got hot, and I think I ended up leading the league in home runs and RBIs. Like, I mean, you know how I was. Like, if I was hot, I was hot. And so just kind of wrote it out. I think I opened a lot of eyes. I cannot remember. I think Kemp ended up getting called up to low A later in the season. So I think I may have slid over to first base. But even so, like, kind of got a little bit more comfortable in the outfield. And I think it was really the first time that they were like, okay, this guy's got a chance, you know, to at least, you know, be a good minor league player. And so I went to Instructs. I was invited to Instructs that year, and went to Instructs and went off. I mean, had some really good hitting instructors, guys that like not only taught me some things, and I was super raw. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I just did it, you know, and they taught me some things about mechanics, about cues, and gave me some drills. And really the biggest thing was they poured into me. You know, they encouraged me, and they were like, hey, you can do this, you know, like, and so I went off that Instructs, and they had a prospect in the Rangers system who was a high draft pick, who was ahead of me, who had played in low A the year before and kind of struggled. So I thought that I thought there was a good chance that I could jump him and go to high A. And that's exactly what happened. And I started off a little rough, and then.
Wait, so what year? You got drafted what year?
06.
So you got drafted 06. You play in Spokane in 06.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get an invite to big league camp or not? No big league invite yet.
No,
that would be kind of early, but
yeah. And I was 21.
So you just go into minor league camp, and then you jump low A. You jump the player.
Yep.
He probably repeats the level.
Yes, and was doing really well to start the season. And I was kind of like 250, but he was hitting like well over 300. I think there was actually probably a point where he might have gotten a call, but things didn't work out. And then I got really hot. Like, I think I had a 50s, 40. I don't remember. It was some ridiculous game hit streak. Was hitting a ton of home runs. Got called up to Double A. Still hot. Won minor league player of the year in 2007. Started in Double A in 2008.
Big league invite that year?
Big league invite. Went to the fall league, and found out that I was playing the entire season with a broken bone in my foot. So I had to have surgery, so I didn't get to play in the fall league. Big league invite.
Do you remember? Hold on, go back. Do you remember guys you played in the fall league with? For people listening at home watching, the fall league is basically like
it's the cream of the crop of the minor league.
Yeah, it's like a minor league all-star league.
Yeah, it's
a league. They take
all-star
5 or 6.
prospects.
They take like 6 prospects from each team, and
mainly
like 5 or 6
most of the guys are all like
join.
Double A-ish level, Double A, Triple A level. Yeah.
So you take 6 guys from each team, and they pair up with probably like 5 teams, and they create a team, and then you play against each other.
What team were you?
Surprise Raptors. So it was us, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Kansas City.
Do you remember guys from your team? Because I was fortunate. Did you get to play in the fall league as well?
I did not.
I got to play in the fall league as a guy out of A-ball.
Yeah.
And I was a taxi squad guy, which was fine, 2
Yeah.
days a week. I got to play a little bit more, but I'll never forget like the guys I played with.
Yeah.
And you talk about the ultimate sizing yourself up with
Oh, yeah.
players. You're getting
Yeah.
the best prospects from, everyone's team, but then you're in a clubhouse with, 5 other teams' best prospects. And
Yeah.
you really find out what you're made of.
Yeah, you do, and it's eye-opening too, because that was a big year for me. I went from high A to double A, and won minor league player of the year. I think I hit like 298 with 36 and 116. So had a really good year, but I'm in the clubhouse now with guys that are like, this is the organization's top prospect. This guy is going to be in the big leagues, like
Next
Trevor
year,
Crow.
Yeah.
The guys, Randy, I'm going to butcher these guys' names. Randy Newman or Newsom, right-handed pitcher. I was only there for like a couple of weeks because they found out that I had a broken bone in my foot, and they're like, hey, you're going home.
so
Chris Dickerson, Sam LeCure with the Reds.
Yeah. What a name.
The outfielder, Chris Dickerson, right?
Yeah.
Left-hand
CD,
outfielder.
the other CD. And Josh Johnson with the Royals. There was another kid with the Royals, a pitcher.
Was Hoshaver there?
I think Hoach might have been. No, he was the year before.
Because this was what, 08?
It was 07.
Yeah, Hosh wasn't even drafted yet. Because remember, he went
Oh,
played
yeah,
for the Fort Worth Cats.
Oh,
or
that's
something
right.
like that, yeah.
The Boris thing. Yeah.
So this is probably like maybe like David Price might have been there.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Michael
think.
Maine.
Yeah.
Was Michael Maine there?
Michael Maine for us.
Blake Bevan. Was Blake Bevan
Who did
there?
you-
Michael Maine and Blake Bevan were the year after me.
Who did you go with from your team?
John Mayberry Jr.
Okay.
and Herman Duran and
Wow.
Teagarden.
Taylor Teagarden, yeah.
Mhm.
He was solid.
He had a monster year that year too. I think he hit like 330, and like he had a really
So you
good
But
played
it's always interesting. It's like the Cape Cod of pro ball, right? Where it's
Exactly.
like,
That's exactly. Yeah.
hey, we're gonna really kind of figure out who this guy is.
Yeah. And I just remember the guys that I played against. Like, I don't remember any names specifically, but I'm like, oh, dude, I've seen this. I mean, we all looked at the
Yeah.
minor league baseball and perfect game stuff, and it's like, this guy's going to be the next.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, because
dang.
they had the magazines in the clubhouse. So you
100
go in
yeah.
there,
You
you
had
go in
no
there,
dis-
take a
no
dump,
choice.
you read
Was
the Perfect
Upton
Game
there?
magazine.
He might have been.
Because Upton was 05 draft, that might line up. But he was a high school kid out of high school 05, so they might have taken their time with him. But
So you have this monster year, minor league player of the year.
Mhm.
You go to the fall league, you don't get a chance to play. You get an invite to Major League
Big
Spring
league
Training of the
invite.
year.
Mhm.
At that point, you got to be a ranked prospect in the organization, correct?
Yes. Teixeira was traded that year in 2007. So they conveniently moved me from third base to first base. And I'm like, well, this is a good sign.
yeah,
They did not sign. I think Ben Broussard signed a 1-year deal. He was kind of a journeyman to play first base. So I took that as one. The guy in AAA was a guy named Nate Gold, who had won minor league player of the year before me, so 2006. And I thought there was a chance. I'm like, okay, they'll probably give Nate a shot, and then if not him, then me. So I definitely thought I was in the mix. Went to big league camp, and I think I got 11 at bats and had like 3 hits, one of which was a home run. So like not a ton of exposure, but got to be around the guys.
yeah.
Got along with
Was
the guys.
there
great.
anyone in particular that kind of took you under the wing? I know how it could be as like a young guy in spring training.
Hank Blaylock was kind of my guy. Like he was the one that was like, he would wear me out, but he was never like hateful or mean. Like we had a really good group of guys. Like there were some older veteran guys that would check you, but for the most part, they understood, I think, that they had enough pieces in the big league clubhouse to be competitive, but for us to be able to be that next level team, we needed these prospects that were coming up. Kinsler was there. Me and Kinsler were tight. Mike Young
Michael
was awesome
Young,
to me.
yeah.
Josh Hamilton, that was when he was beyond whatever it is, beyond belief. David Murphy was great.
Was Nelson Cruz there?
Cruzy was there, but he was, I think he was out of options, and he was like, we finished the 2007. No, it was 2008. He was going back to AAA, and that's when he won PCL MVP and like.
It's just hard to fathom like Nelson Cruz in the minor leagues.
Dude, he was
know.
unbelievable.
He was unbelievable.
He went 40-40 that
so
year.
good.
Like I was hitting 4-hole, he was hitting 3-hole. Like he would hit
Holy
a single
smokes.
or a double, and he was still third or still second, and I'm like, well, I'll just try to get him over, you know, like, and it was just I think he hit like close to 350 with 40 and 40, and like he was a monster, dude. But yeah, it was the first time that I was like, okay, man, I remember when I got sent down, I was pissed because I'm like, man, they didn't look at me, you know, but they were trying to fill their team, and
Before we move on, was Justin Smoke there yet?
Smokey was in the minor leagues.
Because
So
he was
he was-
another guy. So you and him were probably like,
I was going to ask you about, because that's one of my best friends, Justin Smoke, and then I also played with Mitch Moreland.
Yeah,
so like
love both
you
those
guys,
guys.
I know. So you guys were all,
oh yeah,
like,
Mitch. When
you guys
when
were
was
all
Mitch
in there
drafted?
together.
So-
I'm sure at some point you were all competing.
Yeah, and I remember that was our first pick that year because he was out South Carolina, and I'm like, oh,
Was that in 2008?
2007.
7. So you had just finished
I was in the middle of my
high A season.
yes,
But you won
high A
player of the
level.
year,
Mhm.
and then they went out
And
and they
drafted him
signed a first baseman.
right after they had traded to Shera, or like not long after that.
What was that like? I mean, at that point, you're kind of paying attention. You're getting closer.
Yeah, but my whole thing was, Teixeira was an all-star. The infield for the Rangers was loaded. So getting moved back to the infield, I was like, okay, I'm going to be an infielder, like whatever. Kinsler was young and an all-star. Michael Young was Michael Young. Hank Blaylock was young, had already been an all-star. And then Teixeira was young and was an all-star. So Teixeira gets traded. So I'm like, okay, there's an opening. They moved me over to first, but I knew, I was like, they're going to draft the best player available. They're not waiting for me to get to the big leagues. So when they drafted Smokey, I was like, okay, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can still play third, you know, like I still have options, and I just have to out hit him. Like I knew who he was. Great dude. Love him and Mitch. And then they drafted Mitch. Mitch was actually an outfielder. And we were teammates. And there were a couple of times when I got sent down, and Chad Tracy was actually playing first base and DHing because he wasn't catching anymore. So I would just slide over to third. So there was like, I never felt like I was blocked.
Yeah. Did you feel like they were trying to make space for you? Like,
I did.
Be flexible.
Yeah. And I felt like I knew I was going to at least get a shot at the big league level, but that I knew I was going to have to be ready for it. And I'm so thankful that they called me up when they did, because I started the 08 season out in AA and was red hot, got called up to AAA, and it took me a couple weeks to learn AAA. You know, like I realized that like guys were really exploiting my aggressiveness, like expanding the zone just enough to where I couldn't barrel balls up. So I don't feel like I was striking out a bunch, but I was just like making weak contact or just missing balls. And then I kind of made the adjustment and got hot. They named starters for the USA Olympic team, which I was slotted to play first base and go to Beijing, which I was fired up about. But I ended up getting called up 2 weeks before that.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be a tough thing. Obviously, it's a dream come true. I mean, it's what you work your whole life to do, is get called up to the big leagues.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you get opportunity to represent your country, play in the Olympics. That must have been tough. I mean, is there part of you is like, man, I wish I didn't.
Yeah,
I got to play in the Olympics.
Absolutely. And I had that conversation with Scott Service, who was our minor league director of player development. He asked me point blank, he's like, do you want to play in the big leagues or do you want to play in the Olympics? And I said, I want to play in the Olympics, because I know I'm going to play in the big leagues. And it wasn't an arrogant answer. It was like, I'm one of the top prospects in the organization. Like, I'm weeks away from getting called up.
Yeah.
I want to go play in the Olympics, because I've always wanted to play for Team USA. Like growing up, that was the coolest thing to me. Like you get to play for the junior national team. Like you get to wear USA. Like I went to Cary, North Carolina this last summer to coach at the instructional development 16, 17-year-old. And I'm like, I love this stuff. Like I kept my Team USA jersey. But I was glad also to get the opportunity to play in the big leagues. And I got to play in old Yankee Stadium and play in old Metrodome.
Yeah.
Like it was cool. You know, it was win-win.
Take us through that. Who called you? Who told you were going to the big leagues?
Bobby Jones, my AAA manager, called me. We had a day off. We were all sitting at the pool. And he's like, what are you doing?
AAA at this time? Round Rock?
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, okay.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, we're hanging out at the pool. And he's like, I need you to come in. And I'm like, it's an off day. And he's like, well, I need you to come in and pack your bag. And I was like, what? And he's like, You're going to the big leagues, motherfucker. So I was like,
Do you remember
That's
yours?
Oh yeah.
Shane?
All right.
This
We're
is good.
literally getting on the bus. We're in Columbus, Ohio, and Mike Starbaugh is the manager at the time. Ruben Niebla is the pitching coach. Both those guys are in the big leagues. Starby's with the Mets now, and Ruben is a pitch coach with the Padres. But they we're literally like my bag is like on the bus, like we're leaving, and Starby just calls me in and it's like just does the whole it didn't make a huge deal out of it. It was like, you ever been to Cleveland? You want to go? I was like, for for what? Like for what? Like, and he's like, go get your bag off the bus. And so it was weird because everybody was already kind of like getting on the bus, and I don't know how it was for you guys, but for me, it was like there were some veteran relievers there
oh yeah,
that had some big league time that like I had a decent relationship with a few of them. Dan Wheeler was one guy. I don't know if any of you guys know Dan Wheeler at all, but he's like veteran guy, 10 years in the big leagues. He wore me out.
yeah,
He used to wear me out, but it was in a way that I felt like he was the first guy that congratulated me.
yeah.
And it's not like I came out of Starby's office, like, like you don't walk out of there going like, I got called up. I got,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're like kind of keeping your head down. Like, your world's going, a million miles an hour of like, what the heck is going on here? And so I just go grab my bag off the bus. Do you know Chad Huffman?
Oh, I know Chad Huffman really well.
Dude, Chad Huffman is standing there and he goes, what are you doing? And I go, I'm just getting my bag. And he goes, why? And I was like, because I got called up. And he's like, and he just tells everyone.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
does.
bro, your life just changed forever. Like that.
Yeah.
And it's just the way he says it was like kind of funny. And then a couple relievers are like, wait, he got called up? And I'm like, yeah. And, they're like, yeah, Cody got called up.
Yeah.
And those guys are like clearly
Pissed.
Bitter.
they're mad.
Yeah.
Dan Wheeler's the first one, like, you got, he came over, gave me a huge hug, or grabbed my bag for me.
Yeah.
I got this 10-year vet, like, grabbed my bag for me. So that was a pretty cool moment, but it was one of those things of like, man, I didn't know what to do. Like, he was like, what, you don't, like, there's no script for that, right?
Yeah.
There's no playbook for that.
I had a good dude who had been in the big leagues a little bit. He was an outfielder. Tell me early on when I got called up to AAA, and he's like, hey man, I'm just gonna tell you this, like, you seem like a good dude. You're clearly a good player. You're a big prospect. You're gonna get a chance to play in the big leagues. He's like, don't forget, a lot of the guys that you're playing with have been in the big leagues and are waiting for that call to be theirs. So he's like, when you do get that call, he's like, remember that. And so I was always like, even when I was playing, like when I had success at the AAA level, like I tried to kind of keep my head down, which was kind of a precursor to the big leagues, because it's like, I think I hit a home run in my first start in the big leagues, and I'm like, I thought it's awesome. Like, I hit home run in the big leagues, and I'm like looking down the dugout, and I'm like, these guys have hit home run. Like they're gonna.
Yeah, I was very fortunate when I was never in big league camp before I got called up. I was in minor league camp, went to AA, AAA, and one of my best friends was Ryan Goins. He was living with Andy LaRoche and Mike Nikias, who were both kind of
Played with
4A
Andy.
players, right? And when I got called up to Buffalo, as you guys know, and people at home, like, when you get moved up a level, it's not like you have an apartment waiting for you. Like, you got to
Right.
go out and find living, and maybe it's staying in the hotel, but like, oh, sorry, it was Mike Nikias, Andy LaRoche, and Ryan Goins. They were living together in AAA, and I knew Ryan. He was like the only guy I knew because I wasn't in big league camps. A lot of these guys were in big league camp. They're like, stay with us, and those guys were just so good to me. I slept on the couch, but they were just so good to me, and they told me a lot of that same stuff. Like,
Yeah.
remember, a lot of us have been to the big leagues if it happens, and then they always made sure they're like, anytime you go on the road, make sure you bring a suit, because you just never know when it's going to happen. And I got called up at home. It was early. I was living in an extended stay with Sean Ochinko, who played at LSU.
I played with Sean Ochinko in high school.
And then Eric Kratz, the legend Eric Kratz,
Dude,
was we were
legend.
sharing a extended suite together, and I got a call at like 6 a.m. from the manager, Marty Brown, and I honestly don't even remember the conversation. It was one of those like very cliche, like, ever been to Toronto? No. You want to go? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But I was on the East Coast. I was in Buffalo. My family's on the West Coast. So I remember the first person I called honestly was my brother. I called him at like 3 a.m. He picked up and he was fired up. I called my parents. They assumed something was wrong because it was 3 a.m., and it sucked because my parents didn't get a chance to come to my major league debut because, being on the West Coast, Toronto, like they wouldn't have made it in time.
Yeah.
But what was your first phone call? You called your parents?
Yeah, called my parents, called my mom and dad. I think that's probably the only people I called. It was during the day, and they had a night game in Houston. So I was in Oklahoma City, so I was going down to Houston. But I remember being like, what do I do? Like, I've never.
Yeah, they don't give you the playbook.
No,
No one
and
tells you.
I flew into Houston, took a taxi. This is before Uber. Took a taxi to the hotel. They didn't have it set up, that I remember it. They gave me the hotel information, went to the hotel, didn't see anybody from the team, didn't sleep that night, stayed up the whole night. Got up the next morning and got to the field. We had a 7:00 game. I think I got to the field. I left at like 11:30. Walking, I had my baseball bag with me. Walking with my suitcase because it was the last day of the road trip. So, and thankfully I didn't have to have a suit. I had to have dress shoes, jeans, and a button down because it was a getaway day after a night game. So we weren't gonna, and we were going home. So I get to the stadium. It's like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I have no clue where to go. So I'm walking around the outside of Minute Maid Stadium with my huge Rangers bag.
No clue where to go.
And go to the ticket office, the only person I could find. And I said, knock on the window, and some lady's back there. And I'm like, hey, where's the player's entrance? And she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I just got called up and I have no idea where to go. And she kind of looks at me, and I was like, I have my bag. And she's like, go around here and go to this gate and tell them that. And I'm like, okay. And so I ended up walking around the whole stadium, walked across the field. And of course, there are guys out there like,
Getting
big league,
ready,
and I'm like, have to walk across the field, walk in the dugout, and then get to the clubhouse. And yeah, I was like, I couldn't wait for the game to start because I felt so awkward. And I'm like, just give me something that I know I can do. Like,
were you in the lineup that night?
No, I came in, I pinch hit, swung at the first pitch.
Who'd you face?
Oscar Villarreal. He threw me a first pitch changeup, low and in. I capped it and hit it down to the third base line, beat it out, and scored from first on the next.
No way.
So hitting your first major league at bat.
Yeah, I was batting 1,000 for a day in the big leagues. Punched out my next at bat. But yeah, I got to start the next night at home against Brett Myers and the Phillies.
Oh yeah.
He punched me out. My first at bat, second at bat, I hit a home run off Clay Condry. Yeah, curveballs in the dirt.
Did your parents make it down?
Yeah, they did.
Houston first and then Texas? Or...
Yeah. So my whole family is from Texas, so that was kind of
East Texas. It couldn't be. I mean, that would have been obviously perfect spot to start.
Yeah,
how far is Houston from where you grew up?
About 4 hours, I think.
So they were there.
My mom's side of the family, my whole mom's and dad's side of the family, for that matter, is from about an hour north of Houston. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So I had a lot of people there, and then
left a lot of tickets.
Yeah, and
you
then
were in debt after day.
Oh, I'm like, did I pay for these things? And then the next night we went. That was cool. Like I got to make my first start at home on Friday night against the Phillies.
That's cool. And that was when the Phillies were like nasty.
Cole Hamels, Roy Oswalt, Joe Blanton, I think, was still there. We faced Brett Myers. Like I said, I hit a home run in my second at bat off of Clay Condry. So I got to see the fireworks and hear the.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
You get the ball back?
Running with that.
I did, and then Cole started, I think, the second night, so I didn't play. But I did play Sunday against Jamie Moyer, which was awesome because I'm like, this dude's like could be my dad, and I took him deep too.
Did you?
Yeah, Hank was good to me, man. Like he was like, hey, this is what he's going to try to do to you. Don't do this. Just do this. And I'm like, okay. And so I did exactly what he told me to, and he gave me a pitch to hit, and he was so pissed off. I went back and looked at the video, and he's like, I mean, it's 100 degrees. It's the middle of summer in Texas. Some 22-year-old
that old
scrub just took him deep.
Stadium too, man. It would just crush pitchers.
Oh, dude. Oh, that jet stream.
It's funny too because I always think of Jamie Moyer, and honestly, I think I faced Jamie Moyer too. And you were in the big leagues at what year?
08.
I made it to the big leagues 13, so that's 5 years. But in my head, I just always assumed Jamie Moyer was 49 years old pitching, and
he was 49 for 10 years.
And he was I don't know how old he was. He was in his 40s, but I'm like, he was a tough at bat, man. Like he wasn't throwing hard, but he was just a tough at bat. It was a grind at bat. Man. It wasn't even like a bomb. It was like a line drive to center field that just got out.
Hit the
But
grass out there.
yeah,
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
yeah, it was a good time.
All right. So, okay. So this is all going on. Did you stay up that whole year for the rest
Yeah.
of the year?
Yeah, I won Rangers Rookie of the Year. I think I hit 285 with like
When did you get called up? What month was it?
June
Right after the
June
Super 2, right
26th.
after Super 2 deadline.
I had yeah, seriously. I had I think 2 or 3 weeks before the All-Star break, and it was like a, hey, we need a guy. Chris Shelton was the first baseman that was playing at the time. He was really struggling, so they sent him down. I was hot. They called me up, and I didn't know this at the time, but my role was you're going to play against every righty, and you'll play against some lefties. So I didn't face like the Cole Hamels, the CCs, which was tough because Oakland I think had 5 left-handed starters at the time. But I faced Alan Embry out of the bullpen with Oakland. So it was just like if I started the game and they brought in a lefty, there was a good chance I was going to stay in and get some at bats. And I think I did well enough. And I always hit lefties really well in the minor leagues. But I guess they didn't want me to, they were trying to put me in a best position to succeed. And I was playing really good defense too. So, I started to play more consistently, and we played at home before the All-Star break, and I didn't know if I was going to get sent down. I just assumed that I was going to be up, but somebody was coming back off the DL. I think it might have been Hank was coming back off the DL, and I knew they were going to have to make room. So I was like, I just assumed that I played my way. I'm hitting well enough. And we came back from the All-Star break, and Wash brought me in. So we had a workout. So went home, went on the All-Star break, had a great time, stayed around here, hung out with my buddies, went to the lake. Came back for that workout, and Wash called me in after the workout, and I was like, crap. And he's like, hey, I want to let you know you've earned the right to be here. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God. Like, I thought he was going to send me back down. And he's like, we're going to continue to play you at first. Hank's going to play some at first too. He had the thoracic outlet syndrome. So he was playing a little bit of third. We had a guy named Ramon Vasquez, who I think is still the bench coach for
Boston,
Alex in Boston. Great dude. Phenomenal dude.
I played with him.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah. And so he would kind of fill in, when Hank would play third, I'd play a little bit of third, go back and forth, but continued to get the opportunity to play and played well and finished up strong, and essentially won the starting job.
Dude, that's cool, man. Like, so, I mean, that had to be an unbelievable feeling that, because you knew, like, you're like, oh, some of these moves, sometimes it's just a numbers game, right? It's just like, hey, I know that you're playing well, but we can't afford to lose this guy to waivers or whatever. You got options, whatever it is. But for Wash, to call you in and just be like, hey, like I'm letting you know, like you're a big leaguer.
Yeah.
Like you can stop wondering.
Yeah.
Like you deserve to be here. Dude, that had to just like set a trajectory for you to go play.
I don't think I really appreciated it as much in the moment because I mean, you know how it is. You get caught up and like you're just trying to keep up, and like and I was having success and I was just trying to enjoy it, but I was also trying to absorb it as much as I could and learn and like watch guys and be like, okay, that's how a big league. And I had studs. I mean, Josh Hamilton, Michael Young, Hank Blaylock, Ian Kinsler, Milton Bradley was there. He was having an all-star year. Kevin Millwood was one of our start. Like I had dudes that Jamie Wright was in our bullpen. Like I had dudes that were like legit big league players that were very good and had been very good for a long time. So I'm like trying to watch these dudes and see how they go about their business and emulate that and then also figure it out for myself. So I think at the time I didn't really appreciate it, but as I got older and as I became one of those moves to where it's like, hey man, we got somebody coming off the DL.
Yeah.
You're our guy. Then I was like, man, it was cool to have that for a while. I want that again. And it motivated me to try to get that back.
That's awesome.
All right. So you mentioned playing with Josh Hamilton. Is this Josh Hamilton pre or post his issues? Post.
This is traded from the Reds. So he had just gotten back into pro ball. We traded a couple of guys for him. I believe it was in 2007. So I think his first year with us was 2008. So I got to go to, I don't even know what they call it now. It's like the kickoff dinner for the team. They have this big like suit and tie kind of ball gown dress thing in January. and I got to go as a rookie. And I remember hearing the stories. We signed this guy named Josh Hamilton. We traded for this guy named Josh Hamilton. And then you hear the story about him, being maybe the next great one. And then having all the issues off the field, getting kicked out of baseball. Now he's finally got his way back in, and like there's still something left in the tank. I think he was in 2007. He played for the Reds a little bit in the big leagues. So there's like this aura around him, and I'll never forget. He walked into the front doors, and he's wearing this like big overcoat. It was cold. It was like 20 or 30 degrees. But I'm just like, this dude is like, he just has a presence about him.
Dude, you're right, dude. He is a massive human being.
He's a large human being. He's not big in a sense to where like you're like, whoa. It's just like he's just like has freakishly big feet. Big, like he's just a big dude, and ridiculously athletic. Like,
so what was it like playing with him? You hear the stories, but there's no denying the talent. This guy probably could have been one of the greatest ever.
Hands down. Like, the tools were off the chart. Even after all the issues and all the stuff that he had been through, could throw, could run, could hit, was just like instinctual. Like, he was just probably the most talented player I've ever played with. And that's not a shot at any guy that I played with, because I played with some really talented guys, but just the God-given physical ability that he had was eye-opening. And I always thought like my ability to leave left center was kind of like my strong point. Like that was kind of like my ace of spades. Like if I need to stay inside one and drive it to left center, like that's my bread and butter. So I had never seen anybody really have the ability to do that kind of on command. You know what I mean? Like guys could do it, but I learned how to do that early in my career through a hitting coach, and I really used it to my advantage. And I thought I had juice that way until I took BP with him, and I was like,
his home run derby at Yankee Stadium,
it's stupid.
It's still one of like the greatest feats like on a baseball field. Cause like there were guys that I got to play with or against that, no matter where you were on the field or what you were doing, when they took BP, everyone stopped and watched, right? It was guys like, I remember like the first time I really saw it was Giancarlo Stanton in Miami.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was like everybody stopped, and the ball sounded. He looked like he's hitting Pro V1s, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like Joey Gallo, right?
Yeah, Gallo had stupid pop.
Like Aaron Judge, and then a Shohei. But like I think like Hamilton was the first guy I'd ever heard of people doing that. I didn't get a chance to like truly see that because I was coming in the door as he was I think he had signed in Anaheim after 2013 season.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so, and he had a couple of years in Anaheim, but like, dude, he like his BP or his home run derby in that 2009 World Series is still like legend, even amongst all those other guys.
We always talk about the sound, and being a baseball player, like some guys, it just sounds different. And that was kind of always a stigma with me. It's like his ball just sounds different. And so like I always took a lot of pride in that. And I remember taking BP with him in spring training and being like, good grief, man. Like it was just loud. And the balls that he hit, they just kept going. Like, and it was incredible. Joey's up there, Aaron, Stanton, like there's just different levels to it.
They're playing a different game.
Yeah. I want to kind of fast forward a little bit because you touched on this too. 2012 is the World Series run. You get left off the roster. 2014
with the Orioles.
No.
2010.
2010, you get left off the roster.
Then they went back in 2011, but I was traded. So
I want to start there. Type of season you had in 2010, and then ultimately you got left off the World Series roster.
Yeah. So Smoke was a big prospect. Mitch was a budding prospect. He was an outfielder, but I think he had started to play some first base. We traded Justin for Cliff Lee, who was
best pitcher in baseball.
Oh my gosh!
So at that point, He may have been a friend of yours, but at that point, there's got to be a sigh of relief. Like,
I'm like,
okay,
get him out of here.
you get him out of here. I'm the first baseman.
Well, it wasn't just that. I mean, I think we all three felt the same way. It's like we're all left-handed.
Yeah.
We all have similar skill sets. Each of us has our
calling card.
Yeah, like has our thing. You know,
Yeah.
like I had the power. Mitch was like a better all-around hitter. Justin had a better eye. Like we all had our thing. But it's like we're kind of like looking at each other, and we all loved each other and cared about each other. I mean, we played with each other in the minor leagues, and we all wanted each other to do well. But at the same time, it's like it's either gonna be me or you guys. And so I think when he got traded, and it wasn't like a get him out of here, like get him out of my way. It's like get him out of here, give him a chance to go play somewhere else because this isn't working for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited for him to get the opportunity to go somewhere where he got traded for a premier arm. I mean,
Yeah.
at that time, I think that stretch from the time that we traded for him until maybe game 1 of the World Series, Cliff was like the most dominant pitcher in baseball. And it also gave us the piece that we needed to get to the World Series. So I was excited. But I was having a horrible year. Like it was one of those years where I started off really bad, kind of got hot when I got sent down to AAA, got called back up, scuffled again, went back down to AAA, and was just kind of trying to figure things out. Like I was still hitting over 300, but it didn't, it was like a cheap 300. Then we traded Smoke for Cliff, and I got caught up, and I was in my head, I'm like, man, I'm not right. You know, you were talking about it earlier with Austin, like, you know, when you're right and when you're searching for it. And I was searching, and we were winning. I think we were at the top of the division, but we were competing, trying to get into the win the division and get into the postseason. And I was a hole in the lineup. You know, I was playing good defense, but I think they saw the writing on the wall, and so they called Mitch up, and I think he hit a home run in his first game, and he started to kind of play, and I'm like, shit, I missed it. You know, like. Now I started, like, I didn't, at that time, I wasn't like, where am I going to go? Because Mike had moved from short to third.
Elvis was there.
Playing short. I saw him like that's when they basically were like, you're going to kind of be like our left-handed pinch hitter. We traded or we had me, Josh, David Murphy. I think we had another left-handed bat in there somewhere, but they wanted they were trying to get more balanced lineup for the postseason. And so I got some chances to play down the stretch and did okay, but ultimately they decided to go with Mitch. And so I was a taxi squad guy. So they were like, we want you here, we want you taking at bats. And I did. I took at bats off Cliff. He had to throw to left-handers, and you know, like, you don't want him throwing to your starting guys. So I took a lot of at-bats off of him. I did really well against our guys, and I kept thinking if I can compete in these sim games, I'll get a chance to get back in there. Defensively, I know they trust me, but I wanted to get back on the roster to maybe get a chance, and it never happened. We had Christian Guzman, who was a switch hitter, and then Jorge Cantu, who was a right-handed hitter, and both those guys were infielders, so they chose to go with them. But yeah, that was a humbling experience because I got to the point where I was like, man, not only am I not playing at the big league level, I'm not playing in the postseason. I'm not even going to get to play in any of the postseason games. I'm not going to get to play in the World Series, and I have to sit here and just watch.
Yeah,
it was hard. It was really hard, and it pissed me off. And not at anybody else other than myself. I was disappointed in myself for missing an opportunity, but it was also the first time that I was like, hey man, there's 29 other teams out there. You know, like, I did want to be part of the team. I grew up a Rangers fan. I did want to be a part of the team that brought the first World Series title to the Rangers. So that was a big part of me. So that was also a big letdown. But ultimately, I got to the point where I was like, man, I want to be in the big leagues. I want to be a big leaguer. I know I felt like I could be an all-star in the big leagues. But I knew that my days with the Rangers were kind of numbered.
Dang. Yeah. So, all right. So you have to watch. You watch the whole thing, you know, and 2010 was Giants, right? So, you know, they kind of that was their first title. That was prime Lincecum. That was a young Bumgarner. That was
the start of the
10, 12, 14.
The every even number year the Giants are going to win the World Series.
So you guys see them. You play a good series, a very competitive series with a really good Texas team. you guys go into the next year, and I think that offseason you guys went and got Napoli.
Yeah, we got Nap.
And so you guys add some pieces.
We didn't re-sign Cliff. Cliff went to Philly.
That's right. But in regards to like impact to you,
Yeah,
it's like another like power bat that can catch, can DH.
hadn't played first at that point.
No, hadn't played first. Mitch is still there.
Mhm.
Smoke's gone. So you're probably going into camp like, look, hey, fresh start. Like I've got a shot to kind of like
There's another big player that you're missing. So
2011.
So I went and played winter ball at the end of 2010. They had asked me a couple of years before that to do it, and I was like, man, I played, a full season. I've got 600 at bats. I'm beat up. I need to recover. So finally, after 2010, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go play winter ball. So I went to the DR, did really well down there. JD, AJ Preller, who was, I think he was like assistant GM. He wasn't assistant GM. He was like special assistant DGM.
Yeah.
Wash, Dave Anderson, all these guys come down there and see me play. And we have this Wash and I have this conversation in the offseason. He's like, hey, you're gonna be our third baseman. And I'm like,
third baseman?
hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, Beltre. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we go into January and I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I killed it in winter ball. I'm in great shape. I like kind of I kind of found myself, at the plate again. And like I had changed for a couple of years trying to like be coachable and adapt, and had done some things mechanically spread out. And it was just like, I just was not taking advantage of my leverage or my power. And so I'd kind of gotten back to that. And so we go into January and I'm like geared up. I'm gonna go out, get out there early, dude. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna not lock down this third base job. Then we signed Beltre. And I'm
Dude,
like,
I mean, one of the best.
well, where's he
ever.
gonna play? You
Yeah.
know? and
Did you have a conversation with Wash
no,
after
heck
that?
no, dude. And it
They
was
didn't
like,
say anything?
and I got it, man. I'm like, you have an opportunity to go get a player like that. Like you
Yeah.
get him. But I was like, God, now what? So we go into spring training and Wash is like, you're going to be our super utility guy. Infield, outfield, you're going to get reps out there. I'm like, all right, whatever I have to do. I just want to play. I didn't know what that entailed at the time because I had never done it yet, but I was 24 years old. So I'm like still relatively young, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And we go into spring training. Beltre pulls his hamstring early on. And so I get a ton of reps at third base, ton of reps playing with all the starters, not making the road trips like the big league.
Yeah.
And play for, I think, like probably the first 3 weeks and kill it, and end up leading the team in every offensive category. Beltre comes back, so then I start playing first and DHing, and so I'm like, I'm a part of the team. We went and played in Myrtle Beach. We played an exhibition game against Coastal, and I think it was either Coastal, it was either us or our AAA team. But anyways, we made the trek there, and 2 days before that, Tommy Hunter had pulled his groin in the bullpen. And so the conversation after the game, I'm like, I'm thinking Wash is going to tell me, hey man, you made the team. And he's like, listen, he's like, you've had a great camp. You've done everything that we've asked you. We know that you can fill in for third, first. We're still going to get you reps in the outfield. And so I'm thinking all this is going to take place in the big leagues. And he's like, but we're going to have to carry an extra pitcher because Tommy got hurt in his bullpen the other day. And so I'm like, let me guess, I'm the guy with options. He's like, I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm like, it's fine. And so I went to Round Rock, and I was pissed.
And so it wasn't OKC anymore.
We had moved in 2010. After that season, we left and went to Round Rock. And so I was like, fuck you guys. Like, whatever. Like, I'm out of options. This is the last time you can option me. And I remember saying that after getting called up and riding the bench. I got called up early in the season. Hamilton hurt his shoulder sliding into home plate in Detroit. And I got called up, and it was the first time I got called up, and I never played. Sat on the bench for a week, didn't get in bat, and then they sent me back down. And I remember telling Wash, like, this is the last year that you can send me down. Like, at some point, you're either going to have to trade me or play me.
Yeah.
And so, and I love Wash. I wish I had been able to play for him as an older player because I think I would have appreciated him more. But I always really appreciated how he communicated with me, and I knew it was out of his hands. I mean, he's the manager.
Yeah.
He's not calling the
Just
shots.
his job. Yeah.
Dang. So you finished that year kind of going up and down, and then you get traded in the offseason. You get traded that year.
I got traded that year, so we were in Toronto, and I played third in a day game and had a couple of hits. I think I might have hit a home run, and I'm sitting in the hotel at the Ritz, and the trade deadline is that day. It's July 31st. And Scott calls me and is like,
Scott Service?
Scott Boris.
Scott Boris. I'm sorry.
And is like, haven't heard anything yet. You're going to get traded. Like it's not a done deal, but he's like, I just don't know where yet. And so he's like, just sit tight, keep your phone on you. And I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting in my hotel room, probably watching a game and just waiting. And he calls me again and he's like, you ready? And I'm like, where am I going? He's like, they traded you to Baltimore. And I'm like, Baltimore? I'm like, I didn't even know that was on the radar. He's like, yeah, you and Tommy Hunter for Koji Uehara. And I was like, sweet. And he's like, hey man, this is your opportunity. I'm like, I got you. I'm ready. And he's like, I know you are. You're going to do great, do the whole agent thing. Like, and so then Wash calls me on my hotel room phone. He's like, hey, what's up? He's like, what you doing? I'm like, sitting in here. What's up? Come to my room. I'm like, all right. And he hangs up and I'm like, I don't know what room he's in. So he calls me back and he's like, I'm in room, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right. And so I go upstairs and I ended up having to call him again because I couldn't get to his room because he was on the top floor and you had to have a hotel key.
Yeah,
so then I get up there, him and JD come in and sit down and they're like, hey man, this is a great opportunity for you. We hate that it didn't work out here, but we think that you're a good player and we want to give you an opportunity to go somewhere else. And Koji's a really big piece that we need. And, we're trying to win a World Series and all that stuff. And I was like, I appreciate that. I was like, look, man, I appreciate you guys trading me. You could have buried me in AAA. You could have sat on me for another year. And I was like, but I just want you to know that I still feel like I'm going to be a good big league player. I said, I think I have the ability to be an all-star. And I'm going to continue to work. And I thank you guys for everything that you've done. And that was it. And JD and I have a great relationship now. Like,
yeah.
So
that's cool, man. I mean, because that doesn't always work out that way in
No.
regards to like player, manager, front office relationships, right? Because it is an ugly side to the game because there's egos and there's livelihoods at stake, right?
Yeah.
Like, you getting moved, doesn't just, for some guys, it's impacting you, it's impacting your family, it's impacting everything.
Yeah.
So it can be.
Well, and Tommy was on the complete opposite side of that. Like he started Game 5 of the World Series as a rookie.
Yeah.
The year before. And so now he's getting traded away and he thought he was one of the pieces.
Yeah.
So he was not happy. Like he was upset and I was like ecstatic, like I'm like good. And I didn't realize how much of a relief it was going to be to get away from playing in not my hometown, but not far from my hometown. Like,
yeah.
There's just so many things that come along with it that you don't, you can't foresee, like there's just a lot of distractions and not like it's always a bad thing. It's just, you guys know how exhausting it is to be a big league player. Like you said it earlier, like it's all you think about all the time.
Yeah,
it requires that for you to be competitive.
Never
So
stops.
you get to Baltimore, you get traded. There's got to be a little bit of a sense of relief because Buck Showalter's there, someone that you knew that you actually played for as well.
Didn't play for him.
You didn't play for him. He was just around when you were in the Rangers organization. He was in the big leagues.
Yeah.
He knew who you were. You knew who he was.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like when you showed up to Baltimore? If you go to Baltimore, you flew from Toronto to Baltimore, we're on the road.
We went to, I think I went to Kansas City. And then when we got to Baltimore, I'd been there a few days and he called me into his office and he said, look, man, he's like, I'm excited about you as a player. And you got to remember at this time too, like Texas is a World Series caliber team. Baltimore is in last place in the AL East, maybe in last place in baseball. So like the attitude in the clubhouse is in a completely different spot. So I roll in there thinking like, I just came from a loaded minor league system to a loaded big league team that is like fighting tooth and claw, like to get back to the World Series and win it, like doing everything. So dudes are locked into a Baltimore clubhouse to where it's like we were in New York. They had just gotten their asses handed to them Friday night before I got there. And there's like a player consoling another player in the corner. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is this? Where are all the baseball players? And it was like, so there was like, and you had Adam Jones, Mark Reynolds, JJ Hardy, Matt Wieters. Like you had dudes that were good players, but it was just like 14 consecutive seasons of losing, like just it can like it is so toxic to be in that environment and to not be competitive that like it was almost like it was accepted. So I give Buck a lot of credit. I give the players that we acquired and the players that were there that were young, a lot of credit of turning that around, because it was a drastic change to go from that team in 11 to the team that made the
And then what
playoffs
year
in
did Manny
2012.
come?
2012 at the end
So
of
the
it.
next year.
Yep.
So we'll fast forward. Manny comes up. You guys are still a pretty bad team.
No, we finished
Sure.
that year. We kind of finished on a hot run. Like, we beat the Red Sox at the end of the season to knock them out of the playoffs. That was the 163 game.
Yeah, 163.
Longoria.
Dude, that was
nuts.
crazy because it was
That was like an epic collapse for
so
Boston.
yeah.
They had like
Tampa walked off.
New York, or
Might have been New York because New York was in. Tampa walks off New York. Longoria's homer, like literally at the same time that you guys are getting Boston out.
I think it was like 5 minutes after we beat Boston. So I doubled to start that inning off against Papelbon.
Yeah.
Get pinch run for. Andino comes in and hits the Reimold doubles, scores a run. Andino comes in, hits the ball. Crawford dives in left field.
Yep.
And gets past him, and Andino scores. We dogpile on the field like a bunch of idiots.
And then I was when Terry Francona ran out of town.
Yep. I think it was like a 9 or 11 game lead in September that they blew. It was something like
fried chicken and beer stuff.
Yeah. 9. Yeah. It was bad. And it was like they were pissed that we dogpiled, but we had beaten some. That was kind of like our MO. We had started to get some guys in trades and through waiver wire and stuff like that. Guys that had been released. And so we were kind of building something, and it was new, and we had gotten rid of some guys that were there that were not great team guys were leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this like blue collar, like we're gonna ruin your season mentality, kind of doing that thing. And we carried that into 2012, and that's the year that we beat the Rangers.
So I remember in 2012 because. So for me personally, 2012 was like it was the year after I got drafted and I started moving, and I was in AAA to start the season, and there was this dude in Baltimore. I remember you went to Tampa early in the season in 2012, and I think it was like maybe second or third series of the year in Tampa. Was that where did you hit like 5 homers?
That was 13. That was our first series in 13.
In 13, was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this guy goes, what are you going on a tear of what, like 5 homers in 3 games or something like that?
I homered in 4 straight games. I think I hit 5 home runs or 6 home runs in 4 games. I think I had 16 RBIs in 4 games, had more RBIs than like some teams combined. Like it was stupid. You talk about, I had an at bat against Jay Hefner. Not Jay Hefner, the pitcher in
Jeremy Hefner.
Jeremy Hefner, thank you. With the Mets, the last game of spring training, and I was kind of getting close to getting locked in, but I had an at bat against him in Sarasota, and I hit a ball out to left center, way out, and it was like a kind of a bastard pitch that I just stayed through, and it kind of clicked for me, and I'm like, I'm locked in. And Buck came up to me and was like, "Hey, you want another bat?" And I'm like, "I'm ready. We can start the season now." And he's like, "Okay." And we faced Price the first day. I homered off Jake McGee late in the game.
Yeah.
We faced, I don't remember who started the next day, but I homered in my like first or second at bat. But I was not just home, I was hitting doubles, and I had Manny, who was Jonesy. I think it was Markakis. JJ was behind me. It was Markakis, Manny, Jonesy, and me. And so like the running joke for a while was like, Nick's going to get on, Manny's going to hit a double and drive him in. Jonesy's going to roll over or something, and Manny will go to third, and then I have the easy sack fly, and those turned into home runs.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I had traffic on the bases every time I came up.
I mean, would you say that was kind of and I know you'd had like a pretty, it's not like you had just been in the big leagues. Like you were up in 10, like you had all this time in the big leagues, but that was probably on a national scale. That was your coming out party. Like that was when everybody was like, I mean, I didn't know who Chris Davis was until I was like, who the heck is this guy?
So 2012 was my first year to play every day. So I played left, right, third, first, pitched. But it was kind of the same deal in Baltimore that it was in Texas. You'll play against all righties, the majority of the lefties, but not tough lefties. And that's when we had Pettit, CC, John Lester,
Yeah. All in the
um,
East.
all the AL East, and then
Is that JC Romero or no, who was
Price,
Price,
who's in
Matt Moore.
who's in
Matt Moore,
Toronto?
like they were,
Yeah.
and then Toronto Burley,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there were a
Ricky
lot.
Romero. Is it Ricky Romero?
Ricky Romero.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of lefties in my division, and we had some injuries. I started playing more regularly, but I think I hit like 270 something that year with 33 and 80. I led the team in home runs and RBIs. So like, I think the people in Baltimore were like, and especially in the organization, were like, okay, this is our guy.
Yeah.
Like he can handle this.
Yeah.
And then so I went into 13 as the everyday first baseman, and went off. Like started as, I think at the All-Star break I was hitting like 315 with like 36 and 94. And I remember we were playing you guys. And I remember I think we were facing Josh Johnson. I walked up to the plate and the All-Star stuff had come out. I knew I was going. I knew I was doing the derby and all that stuff. And I remember walking to the plate during day game, and I looked up there and I was like, if my season ended right now, like this is a great year.
Mhm.
Like I need 6 RBIs to get to 100. I need 7 home runs to get to 40. I'm hitting over 300. I'm like, and I just told myself, I'm like, just keep going. I think I hit a couple home runs that game.
Hey, did you? So
Dude, it was crazy.
Was there
Yeah.
something that mechanically, mentally clicked for you? Or was it more just the comfort of getting out of Texas, getting away from
Yeah.
home, and then knowing there wasn't really anything coming behind you? And
Yeah.
maybe Buck had a conversation, said, "You're our guy. Like, just go play," and it all kind of clicked.
Yeah, it was the change of scenery for me was huge. Going to winter ball was extremely huge for me because I got back to being more upright. I spread out, but I was still upright, and I opened up a little bit.
Mm.
And so my base was more stable. I wasn't crossing over and diving. And I felt like when I got to Baltimore, one, I was like I was out of cards. Like I was out of options. So if I got released, I was going somewhere. And but I knew that there was opportunity. We didn't have a lot of depth in our minor league system. There was a ton of opportunity at the big league level. And one of the biggest things for me, and I've told him this multiple times, he knows this, Buck was extremely honest with me. And that was one of the things that I told him early on. I was like, do not blow smoke up my ass. Like I had people do that in Texas. Like, don't tell me the guy if I'm not, don't tell me I'm the guy if I'm not the guy. If you think I'm horseshit or you think I need to change some things, let me know because I can take that. What I can't take is you lying to my face
Yeah.
and then saying something else behind my back. And then I can't do anything about it. And I said, and we had a lot of honest conversations to where I would literally walk in his office and I'd be like, hey, can I talk to you? And be like, yeah. We need to close the door. I'm like, we need to close the door. And I would just be like, why am I not playing? Why is this not happening? Why is this guy playing? And he was extremely honest with me. And one of the first conversations that we had, going back to your question earlier, was this is not an open-ended ticket. He's like, you're a good player. I'm excited about you, but you're going to have to produce.
Mm.
And he's like, this is not like, we're not going to experiment. We're not going to, trial and error. Like I need to see something to give you the ability to play every day. And I was like, all right, I got you. I'm ready for that opportunity.
That's awesome. Because a lot of managers they can't do that. Like they're literally like their hands are tied where they can't. Or it's like, hey, like we need you like kit gloves, Because going back earlier too, a lot of guys at that point, or maybe a super prospect who's never faced that kind of adversity before. That man, you can't do that to them. Like you gotta if you do that to them, they're gonna crumble.
Yeah,
they will crumble. So it's awesome that. He did it in a way that you'd faced enough adversity and he knew that. Like he probably knew that about you, but the fact that he was able to kind of stay there with you where there's that level of honesty and level of trust where you knew like he said what he meant and meant what he said, which is great. I remember, so let me ask you this. So 2012, like you said, was like even though you weren't playing every day against lefties, it was probably your most at bats in a long time.
Oh yeah.
And you were an everyday big leaguer at that point. I remember I made my debut against that team.
Yeah.
But I remember that team being so there were some names in that lineup that were like, whoa. Jim Thome being one of them.
Yeah, he was late season ad.
Was he a guy that did you guys have any sort of did you pick up anything from him? Because you're talking about like legend, 600 homers.
Yeah.
I mean, just, and me being in Cleveland, like, there's an allure there. And so, but he was just, he was doing it forever.
Yeah.
He was the left-handed banger,
Mm-hmm.
third baseman early in his career, moved to first, DH. So, like, there's a lot of similarities there between you guys, because he wasn't necessarily like just the power guy early, right?
Yeah.
It got, later on he started basically like that was his calling card. But like what could a guy like you, second year in Baltimore, not a great team, trying to get better.
Yeah.
You guys start competing, you bring in this Cooperstown bound guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was huge for me. I mean, first of all, he's a phenomenal human being. Like,
unreal,
unbelievable human being. Would give you the shirt off his back, like just like Hall of Fame in every aspect of his life. And as I got older in college, in high school and college, my guy growing up was Ken Griffey Jr. I loved his swing. I was left-handed. He's Ken Griffey Jr., so I was like, I'm going to be Ken Griffey Jr. And as I got older and got into high school and college, a lot of scouts and other coaches and just guys around baseball started saying, man, this guy reminds me of Jim Thome. And I'm like, Jim Thome's awesome. I remember the Tribe in the 90s. Like, they were awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember him in Philly, hitting bombs, hitting 40 home runs. And so I knew very, very well who he was. And in my head, I kind of patterned my game after him in my sophomore year of college, like my swing. And I just loved it. I loved it. So getting to play with him was like, this is awesome. It was like getting to play with Pudge, like guys that I grew up watching that I had so much admiration and respect for. And at that time, I was getting ready to move to right field. So CC hits Markakis in the wrist, breaks his wrist. I end up having to move to right field. But before that, I was DHing a lot, and I was okay DHing, but I didn't know what I was doing, because I'm like, ADD is all get out. So it's like when I'm not hitting, it's hard for me to sit there and watch defense. I feel like I should be hitting. It's like kind of what you alluded to earlier. I've got to stay loose, but like, I don't want to wear myself out. But so I didn't have a routine, and he was so big for me in that regard, to where he's like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I feel like works. Maybe try some things. And he gave me like kind of the blueprint for a routine, which actually ended up turning me into a really good DH, which helped me moving forward, because Buck, I think, was always kind of hesitant to put me in because of the swing and miss ability. Like, he didn't want to give up that contact for a DH spot. Like, he wanted to put somebody in there that was going to be a reliable bat. And depending on the day, like, there were some days when I wasn't necessarily a reliable bat. So I think showing that I could consistently have success at the DH spot opened it up for me, not only later in the season in 2012, but into 2013 and later in my career as well. So he was huge for me. And just watching him go about his business every day. I mean, he was almost 40, if not 40 at that time. Watching him get there at 12:30 and get on the foam roller and do all these things to stay loose for maybe a potential at bat. Like, I'm just like, this is what a Hall of Famer looks like.
Dude, and how crazy is it when you play with a guy that your peer, like the other guys in the locker room, the guys on the other team, are like hounding him for his autograph.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
everywhere
how
we went.
crazy is that?
Everywhere we went,
Where it's
other
like
teams.
you're like on the field, like, a young first baseman, and Jim Thome standing on first base about to take his lead. And he's like, hey man, like, if I send a jersey over, will you sign it? And he's like, oh, him being
absolutely,
like, dude, like, big leaguers asking this guy because he's just next level. Man, he was just one of those guys that, I think everybody that got to play with him or against him remembers everything about it.
Yeah.
I wanna for the sake of time, I gotta fast forward a little bit. I don't have them off the top of my head, but you led the American League how many years in home runs and RBIs? 2 times?
Two in home runs, once in RBIs. I think I finished like.
How many times were you an All-Star?
Just once.
Just that 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
So you lead the American League in home runs 2 times, and RBIs 1 time. 1 time All-Star. Baltimore signs you to a long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
You hit free agency, or was this pre?
I hit free agency.
You hit free agency. Your heart was in Baltimore at that time. They give you the opportunity. You guys obviously had some success. You ran into the Blue Jays, ended that success a little bit. That's for a later time. But there's obviously multiple teams out there that wanted your services, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But Baltimore was a place you wanted to be.
Yeah, it was hard. Free agency was not what I thought it was going to be. I think a lot of players are under this misconception that you're playing with house money and you're just going to have all these teams come to you and offer you these multi-year contracts with all these guarantees and all these clauses and no trades and all this stuff. And that's not the case. It's the first time that you have a considerable amount of leverage. If you've um, done well for years and built up a decent track record. But it's cutthroat, man. And there's a lot of things that go on that you don't expect. That there were a lot of things that were just put out in the media. And I'm a very private guy. Like there were offers that were made that were never made, that was just speculation. And then I'm getting phone calls, or my parents are getting phone calls about like, what are you doing? What is he doing? It was a lot more stressful than I thought it was going to be. But ultimately, I was open for anything. I wanted to go back to Baltimore, but I also wanted to know that they were going to continue to try to compete. We always heard that, we're a small market team in a big market. And I'm like, that's fine. But at some point, you're going to have to compete. Like Toronto's doing it now. Boston and New York have always done it. Baltimore is starting to do it now. Um, but I was hopeful that we had enough in place that if I signed there, that they would continue to invest in the team. And so we got about halfway through January and it was down to about I think it was 3 or 4 teams. And Baltimore made a legitimate offer, the one that I ended up signing, and a couple other teams were dragging their feet. We had some numbers, but it wasn't necessarily what we wanted. So like there was are we going to play another waiting game for 4 more weeks? Or, does this feel right? And my wife and I sat down and talked about it, and we just thought, this is where we want to be. We've built relationships here. We care about the city. We're invested in the city. Our oldest daughter was born there. Like we've been here for a decade, or we weren't there for a decade at the time. We've been here for 3 or 4 years. Like we would be here, end up being here for a decade. Like, and so I decided to sign and don't regret it one bit. I think one of the things that Austin was talking about that I really wish I had done as well was invested some of that time and money into taking better care of my body, because I was always a guy that was, if I continue to work and I continue to grind, it'll click at some point. And I think I just wore myself out over time. But yeah, it was a life-changing event for me. Coming from where I came from and growing up the way that I did, I knew that it was going to be a significant impact on not only my family but for generations. So, and it was an easy fit for Baltimore. I wish it would have gone a lot better, but
Yeah, I was never in a position to, sign a long-term deal
yeah,
and sign that amount of money. And I could totally understand how it's life-changing, but for people that have never been in that position, there has to be an element of stress signing
oh
that
yeah,
too, having to feel like they're investing this much into me, this amount of time to me. Like
yeah,
you deal with so much stress, your whole life and, in college and through the minor leagues, and you finally get there. And the ultimate goal is to get to free agency and cash in.
right,
But I never really got to experience that. So I'm asking you, like, yes, it changed your family's life. You don't regret doing it. But what is that feeling like when you're like, man, they just gave me that much money, this amount of
yeah,
time? Like, and you're obviously coming off some monster years,
yeah. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of pressure, and I was always a guy that put a lot of pressure on myself anyways. But once you sign that contract, you can try to justify it and say they're paying me for these years, like they're paying me based off of what I did, not what I'm going to do. But ultimately, we know that they're paying you for what
what
you
they think
did
you're going to
and
do. Yeah.
exactly what they think you're going to continue to do. And so I think there was a lot of pressure. I was extremely hard on myself. I think I just tried to do it all. Like we lost some guys. I got hurt that first year.
What year is
Um,
this again?
it was 16 was the first year.
16. Okay.
I got hurt really early in Tampa, and didn't tell anybody foolishly, and kept playing. Ended up tearing my oblique. Had some injuries. Played through it. I think I hit like 38 home runs that year. I had a decent year, but I hit like 220. The shift was eating me alive, as you well know. um, but I think for so long, I just continued to put my head down and work. And I don't know if this was necessarily because of what I went through early on in life or with the Rangers organization, but I didn't trust a lot of people. I didn't feel like a lot of people. I felt like once I got that contract that everybody was kind of like, all right, he's good. Like we don't have to worry about him anymore. And so I tried to take a lot of things on my own shoulders and do it myself when I wish I would have reached out. And I didn't come to that realization until after I retired. I was having coffee with a guy that I played with, and he said something to me that kind of opened my eyes. I said, I was always just felt like I was kind of on my own, like I had to figure it out for myself, like nobody was going to look out for me, like I had to look out for myself. And he said, I think there were a lot of people in that organization. He played for the organization as well. He goes, I think there were a lot of people in that organization that really cared about you, that were wanting you to ask for help and kind of let your guard down. And he's like, so it's hard for me to hear you say that. And I was like, I never knew that. But
So you have those injuries that season, the first year after signing your deal.
Mhm.
You come back, still hit 38 home runs. What do
Mhm.
you do the following year?
I think I don't even remember, to be honest with you. Like not good. Like I think I was sub 200, maybe 20 home runs, or you'd have to pull up the numbers. But that was when my back started bothering me, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is going on with my back? And I wouldn't find out until 4 years later that it was actually my hip. Like I think that's when I had torn my hip labrum. And I was having a lot of back pain, and I was trying to manage it, and I just wasn't the same. I noticed that um, I just couldn't do what I was naturally able to do years before. Like I didn't have quite the pop. Like I couldn't get to certain pitches. I was losing some range on defense. And I just thought like I'll just continue to keep working. And then 18 was really the year where I struggled and um, was benched for like 2 weeks and worked with Brady Anderson. Would come in early before a big league game and I'd hit off minor league guys. Like they were trying at that point anything.
Was
Um,
was Buck still there at this point?
18 was his last year.
18 was his last year.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
were losing guys like
Manny left that year,
Manny
right?
left that year, and
Was
that was a hard
Marquez-
year.
did
Marquez was
Marquez-
gone. He was in
Marquez
Atlanta.
was in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So those kind of things, like Jonesy's contract was coming to an end, and we kind of were like, man, they're not going to re-sign him. Like we had left some of our big bullpen arms had gone on. We signed. I think Cobb signed later. That might have been later on, but we had the opportunity to do some things in free agency, and we didn't. Like we just didn't sign guys to retool, and so we started to kind of just slide down the AL East. Yeah, and you could see it, and we didn't have a lot of depth in our minor league system, and so 18 was really the hard year. That's when we traded Britton, we traded Scope, we traded Gosman, we traded Manny, we traded everybody, and it was against the Yankees that we traded Bundy. We might have actually given him up in the offseason, but I remember we played a night game in New York, and we went out on the field, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're about to get killed. Like we didn't have anybody.
Who are we? Yeah.
What are we doing?
Guys?
And who's coming behind them? Like who are these guys that we've signed or that we've traded for? And that was kind of the realization. I'm like, man, I've got 4 more years left of this. Like, what are we doing?
Were they ever talking to you? I know you were struggling at this point, but were they ever talking to you about like, hey, if we get an opportunity, like we're going to look to trade you? Nothing?
No, nothing.
Did you have a no trade clause?
Yep.
You did.
I would have waived it.
Yeah.
To better that team, to go try to finish my career somewhere else. I mean, I had nothing left to give there. And I think it was, but I mean, I wasn't playing well enough to be traded. But I think the one thing that I thought at the time was I'm the guy that they're going to pin it on right now. I signed the big year contract. I signed the multi-year contract. I'm not producing. Like our team's bad. Like we fired Buck. The entire staff was gone. The general manager left. Like they came, Elias and them came in, and Hyde came in, and it was like, it was not a good situation to be in.
So what would you say to this? So I played with Tulo kind of towards the end of his career, and he would say a lot of things that you were saying. He's not producing, he's not playing well, and I'd always look at him and be like, well, you're rich. Like, what do you have to complain about? What would you say to someone who said that to you?
I mean, the money at the end of the day wasn't the reason that I did it. I did it because I enjoyed it and I was good at it. And once you have that level of success, the money's great. Yeah. And you can take care of your family. And I'm thankful for that. But I still wanted to compete, and I still wanted to be a productive player because it meant something to me. And I felt like I owed it to my teammates. I felt like I owed it to the organization, to our fan base, to go out and produce. At the end of the day, I would have given the money back if I could have had a little bit more success. I think a lot of times people see these outrageous contracts and they think, oh, these guys don't care. That couldn't be the opposite. The reason that they get these contracts are because they care so much. I lost so much sleep. Like, I wasn't eating. My freaking hair was falling out, dude. I was stressed out. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, what was your lowest point? What year, a moment? Maybe share the one we talked about off camera a little bit
yeah,
after the hip surgery.
yeah, that was low at the end of 2019. So Buck and all those guys were gone. I think I was down to like 215, and like I haven't weighed that little since
High school.
high school. I graduated high school at 215. I'm like 245, 250. But I was stressed out. I wasn't eating. I was drinking. My family was back home in Texas. I was living in our house in Baltimore. I was not good at baseball. I couldn't figure it out. I felt like I was on my own. And I was miserable, man. Like, I was like, I've said this in other areas, other spaces. Like, I was suicidal at times. Like, I was in a really bad spot because I couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, this is all I'm ever going to be. And a lot of it was, I was believing the lies of the enemy, and I was not in a good headspace. But I think a lot of it too was I was internalizing everything. I wasn't reaching out. Like, my wife knew that something was going on, but that was the point where I was like, I need to get out of this. Like, it doesn't matter how many years I've left on this contract. Like, I need to stop this. And like, for my own sake, for my family's sake, I need to lay this down. I need to go home. And that off season, I had some like real tough conversations with my wife, with myself, with people that I am close with, that cared about me, and made some adjustments. Stopped drinking, stopped dipping, um, did some things different than I had done in the past, and was ready to roll in 2020, and started off in spring training as the best player in baseball. And then the season got shut down. So then I had to navigate that. And then the hip surgery was that. I think the hip surgery was really just more realization that it was over. It's like, am I going to rehab and do this and like try to come back with basically half a season left, and like hopefully catch lightning in a bottle? For what? I'm missing my kids' birthdays. I'm missing school. I'm missing, daddy-daughter dances. I'm missing all these things that I care more about than I do about the game of baseball right now. The organization's moved on. They're in a different direction. I'm essentially just the old rich guy in the room, policing the clubhouse. And that's when I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. It's been a great ride. There's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but it's time to hang this up.
So obviously you go through all that stuff, COVID, I think, kind of expedited the end for a lot of guys. It was a weird time in sports, a really weird time in baseball, because it happened like right at the beginning of the season, and you have this midway point. But yeah, it happened for me. I know you kind of battled through it, and you got to play a few more years. But dude, we've stolen a ton of your time. And no, man, your story is awesome. And I appreciate you sharing, especially even the vulnerable sides of it, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but your journey is pretty incredible. Like, it was definitely not a straight path. There was ups and downs, peaks and valleys. But dude, you'll always be Crush. And
Thanks, man.
yeah, dude, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, thanks for sharing with us, man. I think it's just important to understand. I think it's important for people to hear too. And it obviously took you some time. It took me a little bit of time after retirement. I think I was ready for it before the game told me I was ready for it, but your baseball identity and who you are and two different people. And I think it's important for people to understand that we are different people than the one that are in the uniform. Sometimes they get wrapped up in each other, and it's hard for us to separate the two. But when
Yeah.
you get a chance to kind of look back, hopefully you remember a lot of the great things you did, because you were one of the scariest hitters that I'd ever seen step in the box. It was fun to watch. I love competing against you. I took a couple hits away from you, and
Yeah,
I
you did.
probably got me this nice house. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys having me. This is fun.
Yeah, dude. We'll do it again.